Chapter 369. Murong Ai actually complained to Li Fan, which made Li Fan subconsciously swallow his saliva. This lass sometimes really makes one's immunity drop. Li Fan hardened his heart and pushed Murong Ai away. There were some clothes hanging in the wardrobe in this room. Li Fan's own clothes couldn't be worn anymore, which was now a beggar's outfit. The clothes were all ancient clothes. Murong Ai chose a dark green robe with arrow sleeves for Li Fan. Master, wear this. It's low-key without losing your inner quality. Murong Ai's recommendation made Li Fan lose his voice and laugh. This lass, low-key luxury with inner quality. But she indeed had good taste, and the set she chose was not bad. Li Fan put on the ancient costume, which was a white inner garment and a pair of cloud boots. On the outside, he wore this dark green robe with arrow sleeves. Coupled with his spirited short hair, he looked somewhat handsome. This way, Master will look more like an expert. Murong Ai looked at Li Fan in high spirits. This way, Master will definitely be the focus of the audience. Aren't you afraid that I'll be fancied by other girls? Li Fan couldn't help but ask Murong Ai. I'm afraid. Murong Ai nodded. After all, Master belongs to me and my sister. But, if no one likes Master, it means that Master isn't outstanding enough. How can an outstanding man not have good luck with women? This made Li Fan unable to refute. He really didn't expect that this lass actually had such a point of view. At such a young age, the words you say are really not in line with your style. Master, don't look down on me. What era is this? Children nowadays are all precocious. You're not precocious. You're already rotten. Master is so annoying. Murong Ai blushed as if she was very shy. Li Fan knew this lass's means, so he tried his best to stay sober and not be bewitched by her. After washing up, Li Fan went out. The Golden Eagle Castle was already very lively yesterday. Today, it was even more crowded. In the courtyard of the Golden Eagle Castle, the arena had already been set up. The castle lord of the Golden Eagle Castle, Yin Wuchao, was sitting on it. He looked very pleased, as if he was very happy to marry his daughter. Below the stage were heroes from all over the world. There were many young talents, giving Yin Wuchao a feeling that all the talents in the world were in his hands. The person standing on the stage seemed to be Yin Wuchao's disciple. He was only 13 years old, but he was smart and eloquent. He was the host of the event. All the big brothers below the stage are role models that I want to learn from. Today, all of you are here to compete in martial arts. It will also be an eye-opener for me. This little fellow was called Jiang Minjia, and Li Fan had seen him at the banquet yesterday. He could be considered Yin Wuchao's beloved disciple. He seemed to be very talented, and his aptitude was also rather unique. If he was properly nurtured, he should become an expert in the near future. This Yin Wuchao's ability to choose disciples was not bad. Li Fan stood in the crowd and looked at the people of the Golden Eagle Castle on the stage as he silently calculated in his heart. There are a total of 320 people who have signed up for this joust for a spouse. In order to select the true experts as soon as possible, we can only do it in groups. There will be a total of 10 groups, and each group will have 32 people. Everyone, please come and draw lots. Below the stage, there was a large box with many holes on it. The participants went up to draw lots. Li Fan also went over to draw lots. He drew the third group. Tang Wei, who was beside him, also drew a lot. He looked at Li Fan and sneered, "Young hero Li, you were lucky to be able to survive from my hands." However, the third group is also a battle royale between experts. It's a pity that I won't have the chance to teach you a lesson on the stage. Only one person would be selected from each group, and the last person standing on the stage would be the winner of the group. Looking at Tang Wei's provocative look, Li Fan did not get angry. He calmly said, "If we can meet, I hope that young Master Tang will give me some pointers." Ha ha ha, even if you are lucky enough to meet me, I will still send your front teeth flying. Tang Wei did not put Li Fan in his eyes at all. However, when he looked at Lv Shan, he became vigilant. It seemed that this Wudang disciple was the real opponent. Guan Wenbao and Yan Kai also drew lots. The two of them were in the third group, and they would not be able to meet each other for the time being. Li Fan ignored Tang Wei. He turned around and saw that Yan Xiao had also drawn a lot. Oh, young Master Yan drew the third group. What fate! Li Fan tried his best to give Yan Xiao a warm smile. Please give me some pointers when the time comes. I am withdrawing from the competition. Yan Xiao raised his no-fight sign. I suddenly remembered that I have some matters to attend to at home. I must hurry back. Sorry, I have to go first. After saying that, Yan Xiao turned around and was about to leave, but he was pulled by Tang Wei. Young hero Yan, how can you leave? I am looking forward to the next round. It is really urgent at home. How can a personal affair compare to the kindness of parents who raised me up? Yan Zhao's ability to find a way out of this embarrassing situation was quite strong. Tang Wei was very moved by his words. Young hero Yan's words are reasonable. Very well, if we are fated to meet again in the future, we will compete again. Good, good, good. See you in the future. Yan Xiao managed to persuade Tang Wei with great difficulty. He used his lightness skill and hurriedly ran away. Li Fan looked at his back and thought that Yan Zhao's lightness skill seemed to have improved a lot. Sigh, what a pity that I can't compete with young hero Yan on the same stage. Li Fan was indeed a bit regretful. After all, he still wanted to see if Yan Zhao's hidden weapon skill had any improvement. After all, Li Fan's kung fu was a bit inferior in hidden weapons. Of the 18 types of weapons, Li Fan was not proficient in any of them. It was not that he wanted to give up fist techniques and learn other martial arts. He just wanted to understand a little more about other martial arts. This was like playing LOL. It was not enough to only be familiar with one's own hero and skills. One must also be familiar with other heroes and skills. Only then would one be able to win every battle. Among the young experts, there was a disciple of Mount Hua. He carried a Mount Hua sword on his back, which was quite attractive to Li Fan. He wondered to what extent this Mount Hua disciple's sword technique had been practiced. How was it compared to Murong's sword technique? There was also a disciple dressed in black, carrying a big saber. In the martial arts world, there were more sects that practiced swords and sabers. The other weapons were less popular. It was also rare to see someone like Guan Wenbao who used a Yenhua saber. The first group's match had already begun. Li Fan crossed his arms and looked at a familiar figure walking into the ring. Lv Shan was dressed in a Wudang disciple's robe. He was obviously a young man, but he had the demeanor of an immortal, which made Li Fan have a whole new level of respect for him. He wondered how this confident young man's kung fu was. Chapter 370. Lv Shan walked onto the stage. The 30-plus young experts that followed him all looked as if they were facing a formidable enemy. It seems that this Lv Shan is somewhat famous. Who is this Lv Shan? Li Fan saw Yan Kai standing beside him and could not help but ask. At this moment, Yan Kai is wearing a hoodie that covers his face very tightly, making it hard to tell who he is. But Li Fan can see him almost every day and can recognize him from his figure. I am also not sure. Yan Kai shrugged his shoulders. You are not sure about your own sect's people? Please, our sect already has a lot of disciples of the He generation. Not to mention the E generation disciples. He generation. It's my generation. Yan Kai said, before I left the sect, I was called Yan Hakai. But after being kicked out of Wudang, the middle character was removed. And this Lv Shan is obviously one generation lower than me. There are hundreds of people here, how can I remember them all? But they remember you. Li Fan crossed his arms and stood there watching the bustle in Group A. Lv Shan's Tai Chi palm has been trained to perfection, his Tai Chi energy made the surrounding people lose focus. His white clothes fluttered, looking very cool. There are many people in Wudang who remember this Tao master. Yan Kai laughed. Back then, this Tao master was the rising star of Wudang Mountain. If not for the sect leader's daughter forcing this Tao master to marry, this Tao master would not have been kicked out of the sect today after beating her up. Li Fan is very speechless. This guy's reason for being kicked out of the sect is very strange. Why beat her up? Is the sect leader's daughter too ugly? How could that be? She is as beautiful as a fairy. Yan Kai said, although she is not as beautiful as your few close female friends, she is not too far off. What the hell, then why did you not do it? There are no feelings, why should we get married? Yan Kai said seriously, even if she is beautiful, if there are no feelings, we cannot force them to be together. This Tao master belongs to the entire world, how can I belong to only one woman? Damn, I think you like men. Nonsense. Yan Kai denied. My sexual orientation is very normal. How could she like men? Looking at his serious expression, Li Fan almost believed him. Li Fan, don't you think old Guan's figure is getting better and better? Yan Kai rubbed his chin and stared at Guan Wenbao while asking Li Fan. Fuck, and you said your sexual orientation is normal? Li Fan rolled his eyes, but Yan Kai explained, no. You misunderstood me. I just want to train my body, and I feel that old Guan's training method is not bad, so I want to learn. After saying that, Yan Kai put his arm on Huang Lei's shoulder. Lei, what happened? Do you know any reliable tattoo artists? Yeah, what do you want? I want to tattoo something on my penis. Damn, your request is so special. It's not impossible, but what do you want to tattoo? Tattoo Guan Yu. Fuck off, get away from me. Huang Lei pushed Yan Kai away with a disgusted look on his face. Fuck, you misunderstood me. I just think it's cool. Cool my ass. The two of them started arguing, and the result of the fight on the stage was already out. LV Ishan knocked down the last young expert with a palm, then pointed at Yan Kai below the stage. Yan Kai, you traitor of the Wu-Tang sect. You're next to be defeated. Everyone's eyes suddenly fell on Yan Kai, making him feel very awkward. Fuck, who the hell is this guy? Yan Kai is here too. Wasn't he kicked out of Wu-Tang sect? The surrounding people began to discuss, while Yin Wuchao, who was sitting on the arena, raised his eyebrows, and the corners of his mouth seemed to curl up with interest. This guy has been famous for many years. He should be in his 30s. How dare he come to this martial arts competition? After all, he's not married yet. The discussion made Yan Kai very unhappy, so he shouted. All of you, shut up. Do you think I'm someone you can talk about? I'll cut off the tongue of anyone who dares to talk nonsense. Yan Kai's loud shout was like thunder to everyone's ears. After all, he still had some reputation, and many people did not dare to say anything. Li Fan deliberately walked away a little, trying to keep a distance from Yan Kai, the Chinibyu. LV Ishan won the first round, and the second round was filled with experts that Li Fan did not know. The winner was the disciple from Huashan. He used the Huashan sword to the acme of perfection, repelling all his opponents and staying in the stage. This young man was very quiet, just quietly carrying his sword, as if he had a lot on his mind. The third round was Li Fan's turn. Big brother, you can do it. Huang Lei cheered Li Fan on from the side. Beat those people down. Make them submit to Big Brother's dominance. Make him shut up. Li Fan covered his forehead, and Yan Kai immediately reached out and sealed Huang Lei's mouth. Ha, this guy will probably die on the stage. Tang Wei's face was full of ridicule, waiting to see Li Fan make a fool of himself. 32 experts jumped onto the stage one after another, and in front of Li Fan stood a bald Buddhist disciple. Amitabha, it's my misfortune to meet this little monk. That little monk chanted the name of Buddha to Li Fan. In this stage, the one who can stay until the end will definitely be this little monk. Fuck, a monk like you came here to marry me. If you want to cultivate Buddhism, you must first see through the mortal world. Without experiencing the mortal world, how can you see through it? That little monk said seriously. After this little monk marries Miss Een, I will take a good look at what the mortal world is like. Fucking tofu, you perverted monk. Li Fan nearly vomited blood. This pugilistic world really has all kinds of people. Does their abbot know that this little monk is so frivolous? Amitba, benefactor, you will not understand such profound dharma. Understand your sister. In a while, I will beat you up, you perverted monk. Li Fan rolled his eyes. Why are there always weirdos around me? Did I come to this world in the wrong way? Experts, you all can't wait anymore, right? Yin Wuchao's disciple Jiang Minjia used his qi to amplify his voice and announced loudly. The third match, the third group's competition, begin. His voice reverberated throughout the entire Golden Eagle Castle. Many people could not help but admire this Jiang Minjia for being able to cultivate such profound inner strength at such a young age. As for those young experts around Li Fan, when they heard the command, they could no longer hold it in and started fighting crazily. All of their previous temperament, gentlemanly demeanor and whatnot are all gone. Once they start fighting, their eyes turn red as if they can't wait to tear their opponent into pieces. Chapter 371. Li Fan wasn't in a hurry to make a move. He crossed his arms and stood on the stage. He wanted to watch the show first. The surrounding people were in a mess, and it was hard to tell who would win. Two people who were good at fist techniques were already tearing each other apart. They were pulling their hair and kicking their crotches. These two people should also be from prestigious sects, right? Where is their bearing, their demeanor? Li Fan shook his head. These people, in order to become the son-in-law of Golden Eagle Castle, they didn't even care about their face. Even if they really became a son-in-law, what would be the point? Wasn't it good for a man to rely on himself to take one step at a time? If Li Fan's thoughts were to be known by others, they would probably slap him to death. Damn, he had become the son-in-law of Murong's family and could even marry the famous alliance master of the martial arts circle. This was a blessing that could only be accumulated in a few lifetimes. How many years would he have to struggle less? Li Fan stood there and watched these people fight. This place was quite good to watch the show. At least it was a front row seat. Many people pounced on the little monk. The little monk didn't panic. He looked at the 5 experts in front of him. He just stood there, put his palms together and shouted. Ah! Me! Tuah! Buddha! Each shout was louder than the one before. Each wave was louder than the one before. Buddhist lion's roar. The 5 young experts were shaken to the point of staggering. Some of them had blood flowing out of their mouths. It was obvious that they had suffered internal injuries. When an expert made a move, it was obvious whether they were real or not. Although the little monk didn't look very serious, his internal energy was quite profound. The little monk's voice was also quite loud. He had practiced his lion's roar well. He took a step forward, put his palms together, and constantly roared at the young experts in front of him. One after another, the young experts were knocked unconscious by the little monk's lion's roar or blown away. At the same time, a young expert sneaked behind Li Fan. He felt that this guy seemed to be easy to deal with. His wrists were wrapped in rings of steel. This disciple practiced the iron wire fist. But Li Fan just waved his hand and punched the steel ring. Dang! The steel ring was directly shattered by Li Fan's fist. The successor of the iron thread fist was shocked. Li Fan stretched out his other hand, grabbed the man's wrist, and flung him forward. The other party's body was like a sandbag. He was thrown to the ground by Li Fan and passed out. The small monk had already dealt with a large number of people. His gaze finally fell on Li Fan. Benefactor, I'm sorry, but the arena master is this humble monk. As he spoke, he stepped forward, put his palms together, and opened his mouth at Li Fan. Wait a moment. Li Fan stretched out his hand and berated. Do you have anything else to say? Have you brushed your teeth? Ah. Me. Tuah. Buddha. With a Buddhist chant, a huge blast of air hit Li Fan's body. However, Li Fan's feet seemed to be rooted to the ground as he stood there steadily, as if he was not affected at all. Is that all you have? Li Fan crossed his arms and asked unhurriedly. Little monk, I'm afraid your skills are not good enough. The monk was stunned for a moment, as if he did not expect that the other party would be unscathed after using 80% of his strength. Benefactor, you have some strength, but this humble monk's lion roar technique is not for nothing. As he spoke, he took another deep breath, and his belly bulged slightly. Buzz. Ma. And I. Pa. Me. Hum. This time, it was the 6 words of Great Brightness mantra, Buddhist voice 6 layered waves. 6 waves of impact continuously hit Li Fan's body, causing his clothes to flutter. However, Li Fan's feet were still firmly planted on the ground. He did not move, as if a cool breeze was blowing a mountain. Unbelievable, seeing that his Buddhist voice 6 layered waves could not move Li Fan, the small monk was a little stunned. However, he was not in a hurry. Instead, he looked at the bronze bell that was used to announce the start of the match. The small monk broke the bronze bell with a slap and held it in his arms. Holy shit, are you learning kung fu? Li Fan had seen this movie before, so he immediately understood the method the small monk was using. Ba, this humble monk has also seen it before. It's a good chance to try it out today. The small monk carried a large bronze bell and aimed it at Li Fan. He let out a huge Buddhist lion roar. I. Buddha. Mercy. Sorrow. The sound waves surged out, causing the stone tiles on the arena floor to be lifted up and hit Li Fan's body. However, Li Fan remained motionless. When the stone tiles hit his body less than a centimeter away, they would shatter into pieces. The sound waves could not break Li Fan's body. He still stood there with his arms crossed, as if the sound waves were not attacking him, but someone else. Dong! The floor cracked and the bronze bell was smashed to the ground. The small monk clearly did not have much strength left. However, Li Fan stood there unscathed, as if he was bathing in the spring breeze. All the surrounding young experts were sent flying by the small monk's move. Even Tang Wei was stunned when he saw this move. This Buddhist lion roar is too powerful. Even if it's me. I can't take it head on, right? It doesn't seem to work. Li Fan smiled, although your Buddhist lion roar is very powerful, and the strength exertion technique is not bad. However, your internal energy is not solid enough, and your voice is still weak. As he spoke, his body suddenly bent slightly, and his eyes flashed. If you have more confidence, the effect should be like this. As Li Fan spoke, he stepped forward with one foot and roared. Roar! Fierce tiger roar. This loud roar caused the entire Golden Eagle Castle to tremble. The surrounding forest also shook, as if there was a king of the mountain, a fierce tiger descending the mountain. Many people present felt a chill run down their spines and subconsciously began to tremble. They felt like a fierce tiger was staring at them from behind, treating them as prey. As for the small monk, he took 2 steps back and knelt on the ground, bleeding from his 7 orifices. This roar caused him to suffer a lot of internal injuries. The bronze bell beside him already had layers of cracks. When the wind blew, the bronze bell would shatter. Li Fan's fierce tiger roar shocked everyone present. A brilliant feat. This little monk. Lost. The small monk sat cross-legged on the ground, put his palms together, and no longer said a word. He had already admitted defeat. Without the big bell, Jiang Minjia could only hit the gong at the side. The champion of Group C is Li Fan, young hero Li. People call him Little Overlord. It can be said that Li Fan was the only one among the young talents who had a title. Even Yan Kai didn't have a title. His existence attracted countless rays of jealousy. And Li Fan had already shown his strength, making many people look at him in a new light. His internal energy is indeed strong. Yin Wuchao sat there, seemingly moved, but as an expert, just having a strong internal energy is useless. He was not too optimistic about Li Fan. The person he was most optimistic about was that Huashan disciple. This time, the champion should be him. Chapter 372. There was no doubt that Tang Wei had won Group 4's competition. Li Fan took a closer look at the remaining matches. The young man with the saber had also won. This made Li Fan a little proud. He had a good eye. The two young men with the saber and the sword had both won. The young man with the sword was called Qin Junhua. It was said that he was the adopted son of the Huashan sect leader. Later, the sect leader gave birth to another son. Hence, Qin Junhua's current position was very awkward. The young man with the saber was the eldest disciple of the Five Tigers sect. He had learned the Five Tigers breaking the gate saber technique passed down by the sect. In other novels, the Five Tigers breaking the gate saber technique was usually a useless technique. But in reality, it was a very domineering and powerful saber technique. The Five Tigers sect had a good reputation in the Jianghu. Although they could not compare to Wudang or Shaolin, they had a certain status. The eldest disciple of the Five Tigers sect was called Kuchuanzi. He was different from the quiet Qin Junhua. He had a desire to show off. When he made a move, he liked to shout out the name of his move. Qin Junhua. He stood in the arena and imitated Lvishan. He pointed his saber at Qin Junhua, who was below the arena. Last time, I lost to you by half a move. Today, young master will beat you until your mother can't recognize you. It seemed that the two of them had known each other for a long time. Li Fan stood at the side. He wanted to watch the show first. Soon, it was time for his group's match. Guan Wenbao went into the arena under the expectant gazes of the crowd. Old Guan regretted that he could not bring Lisa. But even if he was off the horse, his Guan family's saber technique would not lose to anyone. Seeing Guan Wenbao go up, Kuchuanzi from the Five Tigers sect was a little jealous. Everyone was a saber user. Although they did not use the same type of saber, they all had something in common in certain aspects. The surrounding young geniuses looked at Guan Wenbao with jealousy. This person was from a famous family. He was blessed by nature. If they could be born in the Guan family, they could really choose any of the famous sects in the Jianghu. No matter where he went, he would be valued, and he would learn more powerful martial arts. Guan Wenbao, give me your life. Just because you have a family, watch this young master defeat you. These people thought that Guan Wenbao had nothing but a good family background. In an instant, there were about 10 people. These 10 young experts each unleashed their own powerful moves, attacking Guan Wenbao. However, Guan Wenbao did not panic at all. He just extended his foot and stepped on the ground, stirring up the dust. At the same time, Guan Wenbao's left hand touched the broadsword at his waist, and his right hand pressed on the copper rod hanging on his back. Guan Wenbao clasped his hands together, forming a crescent moon blade. He remained calm in the face of more than 10 experts. He spun on the spot and swung the crescent blade in his hand, creating a powerful astral saber. Total annihilation. With just one move, all the young experts around him were sent flying. Old Guan has become a lot stronger. Li Fan's eyes lit up. Most importantly, he had not taken off his wrist guard. It seemed like old Guan had been training him a lot recently. Among the three of them, Guan Wenbao was the one who trained the hardest. Sometimes, Li Fan thought that if he trained every day like Guan Wenbao, he would probably become stronger. However, he was busy with other things, such as school, and taking care of such a large escort agency. He could not put in all his effort to train. Not bad. Even Yin Wuchao could not help but praise. This Guan Wenbao's foundation is too solid. He will definitely become a hero in the future. He was full of expectations for Guan Wenbao, and he could not help but weigh Guan Wenbao and Qin Junhua. In terms of martial arts, Yin Wuchao felt that Qin Junhua, a mature young man, was superior. However, Yin Wuchao was not well liked in Mount Hua, but Guan Wenbao was different. Even if he had declined, he was still a noble. If he could marry a descendant of the Guan family, it would undoubtedly be a help to Golden Eagle Castle. Although Golden Eagle Castle was doing well now, it still lacked a noble identity. Wudang, Shaolin, and Mount Hua were all famous sects. It was because they had such a strong historical identity. Even the Five Tigers sect was more famous than his Golden Eagle Castle. However, if he could marry a descendant of a noble family, the situation would be different. Therefore, Yin Wuchao began to consider in his heart. Guan Wenbao was undoubtedly a very advantageous candidate. Moreover, Guan Wenbao did not let him down. He stood alone in the arena, fighting 1 against 10, and was not at a disadvantage. The remaining young experts tried to launch an attack several times, but they were all easily blocked by Guan Wenbao. I didn't expect the descendant of the Guan family to be so good. Kuchuanza pressed his hand on his saber and looked at Guan Wenbao's display of might. He could not help but laugh. Looks like this groom search competition is getting more and more interesting. Guan Wenbao defeated all his opponents and stood alone in the arena. Yin Wuchao's disciple immediately announced Guan Wenbao's victory. Everyone could not help but whisper. It seemed that Guan Wenbao's strength had gained everyone's recognition. In the next few matches, the selection of the arena master was a little slower. Everyone's strength was about the same, so it was difficult for someone to stand out. Everyone was drowsy from watching. Even Yin Wuchao could not help but secretly yawn. This situation continued until Yan Kai went on stage. Yan Kai's name had long been known in the Jianghu. This eldest disciple of the Wudang Mountain attracted everyone's attention the moment he went on stage. Castle Master Yin, I'm here to join in the fun. You won't be angry with me, right? Yan Kai asked Yin Wuchao, who was sitting at the head of the table. To be able to speak to Yin Wuchao in such a casual tone, it meant that the two of them were old acquaintances. It is this old man's honor for Brother Yan to come and support this old man. Yin Wuchao's words were not offensive at all. If Brother Yan really has the ability to take first place, it would be a wonderful thing for you to become this old man's son-in-law. That's not very good. Yan Kai laughed. Although his sexual orientation was not obvious, he was a smart person. I no longer have a Wudang identity. It seems that I am not qualified to be the son-in-law of Golden Eagle Castle. Brother Yan, what are you saying? In this groom search competition, Golden Eagle Castle welcomes young talents from all over the world. Regardless of whether you are from a famous family or a commoner, this old man treats everyone equally and welcomes them all. Good, good, good. Then this old man will not be polite. Yan Kai laughed. Yin Wuchao also laughed. Don't be in such a hurry to speak. There are many experts. It is hard to say whether you can become the arena master or not. Aren't they just a bunch of little kids? Watch this old man beat them. Yan Kai said, stretched his waist, and then casually hooked his finger at the surrounding people. Come, come, come. This old man will let you make the first move. Chapter 373. Which one of these young martial fighters wasn't a proud and arrogant person? Now that Yan Kai had said that, they were instantly enraged. Everyone, let's work together to defeat him first. The surrounding experts quickly exchanged their opinions and made up their minds. They decided to get rid of Yan Kai first. Because of Yan Kai's arrogant character, they had decided to kill him. However, Yan Kai wasn't one to be slaughtered. He just stood there, trimming his nails with a small file, as if he didn't care about his opponents. Li Fan sometimes thought that with Yan Kai's character, he wouldn't know when Yan Kai would harm him. However, Guan Wenbao was very calm in this aspect. Letting old Guan follow Yan Kai could make up for each other. With old Guan watching him, he could also be at ease. Kill him. At this moment, Yan Kai was like a boss waiting to be defeated in everyone's eyes. More than 30 young people attacked Yan Kai from all directions, even more frightening than when they besieged Guan Wenbao. However, Yan Kai didn't care. He only used his left hand to easily block these people who came to offend him. A young expert threw a punch at Yan Kai's face, but Yan Kai reached out and grabbed his wrist. He pulled the fist to the side and slapped the head of the person next to him. Another person slashed at Yan Kai with a knife, but when the knife touched Yan Kai's chest, it was deflected by Yan Kai's Qi Jin and slashed at his companion's arm. At this moment, Yan Kai was like a balloon. No one could hit him, and they were all deflected by his Qi Jin to his companions. You have the nerve to come and embarrass yourself with this kind of skill? Yan Kai was safe and sound. He turned to look at Yin Wuchao. These people you found are also not good enough. I'll help you eliminate them first, leaving behind some real experts. Don't thank me, I'm always willing to help others. Yan Kai's words angered the surrounding people. Yin Wuchao also wanted to roll his eyes, but considering his status, he held back. Although the experts at the side really wanted to kill Yan Kai, they were helpless against his strength, so they were a little helpless. Yan Kai, this fellow, was really too hateful. No matter how the surrounding people attacked, Yan Kai's moves would be directed to others, causing the surrounding people to be battered and exhausted. Too weak. Yan Kai dealt with all the enemies easily. He stretched his muscles and said slowly, "Just now, I don't know who said that he wanted to challenge me. I'm sorry, there are too many people who want to challenge me. You should go and get a number first." Yan Kai's arrogance infuriated the surrounding people. Yan Kai, you abandoned disciple of Wudang sect. Even now, you're still so arrogant. LV Yishan stood up, pointed at Yan Kai's nose, and scolded, "Today, I will teach you a lesson on behalf of Wudang, you evil creature. Who do you think you are?" Yan Kai didn't even look at LV Yishan, treating him like air. "If you want to challenge me, go back and train for another 10 years. How arrogant." LV Yishan sneered, "You, and that little tyrant Li Fan, I will let you know what a real Wudang disciple is today." Huff, Guan Wenbao's Yenyue Dao suddenly arrived in front of LV Yishan's neck, only half a centimeter away from his neck. As long as Guan Wenbao used a bit more strength, LV Yishan's head would be removed. "If I hear you say half a word of disrespect again, I will cut off your dog head." Guan Wenbao's voice was cold, his Yenyue Dao was steady, not even trembling. "How dare you threaten me?" LV Yishan stretched out his hands, trying to control Guan Wenbao's Yenyue. His internal Tai Chi was also very strong, but Guan Wenbao's Yenyue Dao was able to break LV Yishan's Qigong. Impossible. LV Yishan was obviously a bit surprised, but Guan Wenbao sneered. "Compared to Yan Kai, your little bit of Taiji is still too lacking. I am the new hope of Wudang sect. I will be stronger than that traitor Yan Kai." LV Yishan roared, circulating his Qigong as if he were about to make another move. However, that was when Yin Wuchao spoke up. "Young heroes, there's no need to get so worked up. If you have anything to say, save it for the fighting ring." Yin Wuchao's face still carried some weight. "Put away your Yenyue Dao, old Guan." Only then did Guan Wenbao lower his Yenyue Dao, Li Fan. LV Yishan also put away his Qigong Yenyue Dao, but he was still glaring coldly at Guan Wenbao, his eyes flickering with rage. Clearly, LV Yishan hated Guan Wenbao. Apparently, LV Yishan believed that he was the true successor of the martial arts world. Don't get ahead of yourselves. I have a true Wudang sect technique, and once I use it, I guarantee that you'll all kneel before me. LV Yishan seemed very confident, as if he really did have some sort of consummate technique. Is there any consummate technique on Mount Wudang that I don't know? Yan Kai curled his lips. I know all of Wudang sect's consummate techniques, but you don't even know how to brag. Hee, my great master has a technique that you don't know. Your great master? Yan Kai did not know who he was talking about. This technique is called the Solar Dragon Tai Chi Hand. LV Ishan's words stunned Yan Kai. The solar dragon Tai Chi hand was known as the consummate technique of inner Tai Chi. However, because it was too sinister, it was not accepted by Wudang sect, so it had been hidden. Who would have thought that this technique would make a reappearance in the martial arts world? You're quite an arrogant person. Kuchuanza of the Five Tigers sect was also a busybody. When he heard LV Ishan's words, he was unhappy. You just know some martial arts that others don't. Why are you so smug? When we get to the fighting ring, it doesn't matter which sect you belong to, only who is better. Alright, today, I will prove for Wudang sect. The person who can become the son-in-law of Golden Eagle Castle is me, LV Ishan. LV Ishan's words were powerful and resonant. Huang Lei muttered at the side, this idiot. Let Big Brother go up and beat him up later. Alright, everyone, don't be anxious. Wait for us to select the top 10, then we will proceed to the next round of the competition. Yin Wuchao's disciple, Jiang Minjia, hurriedly stabilized the situation. Next is Group 10's competition. The top 10 were quickly selected. Li Fan, Tang Wei, Guan Wenbao, Yan Kai, LV Ishan, Kuchuanza, and Chen Junhua. As for the remaining 3, Li Fan had never heard of their names. However, they were indeed disciples of powerful aristocratic families. These people were all experts. They were all carefully selected for the top 10. Perhaps it was fate, but in the second round of the finals, LV Ishan's opponent was really Yan Kai. Chen Junhua of Huashan was going against Kuchuanza of the Five Tigers sect. Unlucky fellow, you've drawn the worst lot. Tang Wei looked at Li Fan with a gloating gaze. Chapter 374. In Tang Wei's heart, it was as if Li Fan was dead for sure. Don't worry, our match is in the next match. The match between Li Fan and Tang Wei was in the second match. The first match was between LV Ishan and Yan Kai. Yan Kai still had that kind of sloppy appearance. Standing on the stage, he did not forget to wave to the female audience below. I say, Castle Master Yin. This is a martial arts competition for a spouse, why don't you let your girl show her face? Yan Kai shouted to Yin Wuchao, without a girl, there is no motivation. Yin Wuchao was also very speechless, this is really enough. Shameless. LV Ishan angrily rebuked, someone like you actually cultivated in Wudang Mountain, it is really a disgrace to Wudang Mountain. Today, I will clean up the sect on behalf of the sect. My head hurts. Yan Kai pressed his forehead, why does Wudang Mountain always have an idiot like you, it is also a shame for me to be in the same sect as you. Come, let me see your Dragon Sun Tai Chi hand. You are not worthy. Eat my Tai Chi palm first. As LV Ishan spoke, his body instantly appeared in front of Yan Kai, and his palm slapped towards Yan Kai's forehead. Tai Chi palm was not soft, but it was very fierce. It was possible to break gold and jade with a single slap. Yan Kai was obviously aware of this, but he did not dodge. Instead, he allowed the slap to land on his head. Pa! LV Ishan's Tai Chi palm tilted to the side, and Yan Kai deflected the force. LV Ishan was very surprised. Although he heard that Yan Kai's martial arts were powerful, his internal energy should have been crippled. Why was his current internal Tai Chi able to block his fierce Tai Chi palm? In LV Ishan's heart, he thought that Yan Kai should already be half a cripple. LV Ishan, right? You do have some talent. Yan Kai put his hands behind his back, looking at his former junior brother in front of him, Wu Xian might have a reason for you to come out. However, compared to this Dao Grandpa, you are still too far away. Yan Kai's Tai Chi Kung Fu had reached the acme of perfection. Although he did not pay much attention to cultivation, his talent was there. In terms of pure martial arts talent, Yan Kai was the best in the extraordinary escort agency. Li Fan only had the advantage of having a pure young body. Guan Wenbao did not have any talent and relied on his own hard work. LV Ishan was not convinced by Yan Kai's words. When he left the mountain, his master had reminded him. If he met Yan Kai in the Jianghu, he would try his best to avoid him. He would not want to meet him, and he would not want to quarrel with him. Why? Wasn't he the successor of Mount Wudang? Was he not as good as a trader? When he was on Mount Wudang, he would always hear people comparing him to Yan Kai. How could he be compared to a traitor when he was so honorable? This time, when Lv Shan met Yan Kai, he made a prompt decision to clean up the Jianghu, so that Yan Kai would no longer exist. Yan Kai, today is the day you die. Lv Shan said as he stomped on the ground. The stone bricks on the stage were shattered by his stomp and flew up, floating in front of Lv Shan. Lv Shan operated his qigong and clasped his hands together. The stone bricks immediately spun and compressed into a ball in front of him. Yan Kai. Take this. Lv Shan roared and pushed the stone ball with both hands. The stone ball flew close to the ground, and wherever it slid, the floor was torn apart by the force of the impact. This kid's internal energy should have reached 70 to 80%. Yin Wuchao, who was sitting in the seat of honor, looked at the stone ball and couldn't help but praise. It was said that Mount Wudang was full of talented people. Today, he saw that it was true. However, Yan Kai still stretched out a hand and patted the stone ball, then pulled it away. The stone ball fell into his arms and spun in front of him as if it had become a toy, without any lethality. What? Lv Shan was shocked. He did not expect that he could not hurt Yan Kai at all. The power of yin and yang is Tai Chi, Yan Kai said slowly, as if he was teaching his former fellow disciple in front of him. Although your internal energy is good, your Tai Chi practice is not perfect enough. As he spoke, he stretched out his other hand and used both hands to push the stone ball. Boom! The earth seemed to tremble. The floor tiles of the stage were all attracted by the power of the stone ball and gathered toward the stone ball. In the blink of an eye, the stone ball absorbed an unknown amount of stone bricks. Its size expanded by 10 times and floated above Yan Kai's head. Li Fan felt that this guy was about to release an origin chi bomb. Your Tai Chi skill level is still far from being good enough. Yan Kai rudely mocked, next time if you want to shout, first practice your martial arts. Lv Shan was only slightly stunned, but his eyes suddenly became fierce. Lv Shan's movement technique was not bad. With a flick of his feet, he instantly appeared in front of Yan Kai. It was as if he wanted to take advantage of the fact that Yan Kai had yet to make a move to launch a wave of quick attacks. He slapped his palm towards Yan Kai's chest. Yan Kai was very confident in his Tai Chi power and allowed Lv Shan's palm to land on his chest. Dragon Sun Tai Chi hand. But this time, Lv Shan laughed. Yan Kai felt Lv Shan's inner strength hit his chest. His Tai Chi power guided this power and prepared to return it to Lv Shan. However, Lv Shan's strength forcefully suppressed this true energy, turning it into two and returning it to Yan Kai's chest. Boom! Yan Kai felt as if he had been hit by a large car. Like a kite with its string cut, he flew out and fell at the edge of the stage. The rubble above his head also fell down and smashed into the stage. Pfft! Even Yan Kai spat out a mouthful of blood. His body staggered slightly, and it was obvious that he had sustained serious internal injuries. The Dragon Sun Tai Chi hand actually reversed the flow of true energy. Yin and Yang, the power of Tai Chi. The Tai Chi they learned guided each other's true energy according to the laws of nature. Everything had to follow the will of the heavens. The Dragon Sun Tai Chi hand, on the other hand, was a kind of reverse, forcefully reverse control of true energy, thus hurting others and oneself. Looking at Lv Shan, there was also a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. Obviously, this move had injured him quite badly. No wonder it was frozen. This was indeed a wicked move. However, Lv Shan did not think so. Taking advantage of Yan Kai's weakness, he jumped to Yan Kai's side and at the same time, slapped the top of Yan Kai's head. The chief of Wu-Tang's sect. It's mine. Yan Kai saw a trace of obsession in Lv Shan's eyes. Yan Kai did not know why, but he was stunned. Looking at Lv Shan, he seemed to see his stubborn self in the past. Chapter 375. At that moment, Yan Kai was indeed stunned. However, Lv Shan would not show any mercy. He slammed his palm on Yan Kai's chest, slamming him off the ring and onto the ground. According to the rules, no matter how impressive he was before, he would be the loser if he stepped out of the ring. Trash. Lv Shan wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, looked at his former fellow disciples lying under the ring, and sneered, "See that? Your era is long over. You are even worse than trash now. I, Lv Shan, am the chief disciple of Wu-Tang sect." Yan Kai stood up, patted the dust off his body, turned around, and walked into the crowd without saying anything. The people around him were still whispering. "This Yan Kai is not much. I heard that he was crippled of his martial arts back then. It seems to be true. Tisk tsk, he is no match for a real expert." The crowd's discussion was very harsh, but Yan Kai turned a deaf ear to it and left the venue alone. "Lei, you follow him." Li Fan was worried that Yan Kai would have an accident, so he quickly ordered Huang Lei to follow him. "Okay, big brother, leave it to me." Huang Lei had always followed Li Fan's orders without any hesitation. Li Fan ordered him, and he immediately followed Yan Kai. Yan Kai was usually quite arrogant. He wouldn't take things too hard and do something impulsive today, would he? Li Fan was a little nervous, hoping that Lei could keep an eye on him. The next match was between Li Fan and Tang Wei. It seemed that because of Yan Kai's loss, when Li Fan stepped into the ring, Tang Wei kept laughing. "Ha ha ha, weak." Tang Wei pointed at Li Fan and said, "Your companion is only a so-so. I think you are only at this level. You might as well admit defeat now, and you will lose less face." "That's okay." Li Fan laughed, "After all, I was born shameless, and I am not afraid of losing face. But young hero Tang is different. He's from an aristocratic family, so he has to protect his reputation. I don't need you to worry about my reputation." Tang Wei was very arrogant. "Even if I defeat a small character like you, it won't do me any good. For you to be able to exchange blows with me, it's your greatest fortune." Li Fan, young master finally understood why you risked your life to participate in this competition. Even if you lose here, you'll be able to leave a good reputation after fighting with an expert like young master. This person is too annoying. Guan Wenbao raised his crescent blade. "If only I could kill him." Li Fan turned around and glared at Guan Wenbao. Old Guan put down his family weapon. The second match officially begins. Yin Wuchao couldn't wait to watch the match. He threw a red dart at the gong that replaced the bell. The sound of the gong signaled the start of the fight. Tang Wei couldn't wait any longer. He planned to kill Li Fan and take his title of Little Overlord. The title of Little Overlord and Murong's love belonged to young master. At the same time, Tang Wei threw down these words and started running. His footsteps were very steady, and he was also abnormally agile. The 8 trigram steps was the traditional steps of the 8 trigram school. Tang Wei had been walking the plum blossom steps since he was young. It could be said that the 8 trigram steps had almost become a part of his life. This kid's 8 trigram steps is quite skilled. Yin Wuchao couldn't help but give a thumbs up. The 8 trigram school should be proud to have such a descendant. Tang Wei seemed to be very happy to hear Yin Wuchao's praise. His strength was recognized by Castle Lord Yin. This 8 trigram steps was only a part of his martial arts. Soon, everyone would be shocked by his true strength. Tang Wei appeared beside Li Fan in the blink of an eye. Using the 8 trigram steps, he nimbly moved to Li Fan's right side. At the same time, his left hand turned into a knife and stabbed at Li Fan's waist. 8 trigram saber. If this hand stabbed at Li Fan's waist, it would be no less than a sharp knife stabbing him. Tang Wei's lips curled into a smile. This was a very sinister move. He wanted to cripple Li Fan's lower body forever. Murong's love couldn't possibly be interested in a cripple, right? This move made Yin Wuchao frown slightly. He didn't expect Tang Wei to be so ruthless and merciless at such a young age. The little overlord, Li Fan, was probably going to suffer a big loss this time. It was inevitable that he would be crippled for life. Tang Wei was still young. He didn't think that Murong's family would view the 8 trigram school as an enemy. However, Yin Wuchao didn't point it out. He just waited for the next step. It was best for Li Fan to leave the arena as soon as possible. He still had some medicine passed down from his ancestors. When the time came, he would give him 2 bottles as a token of gratitude. However, what surprised him was that Li Fan casually reached out and grabbed Tang Wei's wrist. I didn't expect our young hero Tang to be so ruthless. Li Fan held Tang Wei's wrist. The smile on his face had an indescribable meaning. It seems like young hero Tang has a deep hatred for me. You deserve to die. Tang Wei glared and jabbed at Li Fan's wrist with his other hand. Bear strike, Bear King raises the cauldron. However, Li Fan directly lifted Tang Wei's body up high, causing him to lose his center of gravity. Li Fan originally wanted to rip off one of Tang Wei's arms. However, after thinking about it, he was afraid that it would cause enmity between Murong's family and the 8 trigram school. He swung Tang Wei's body down hard on the floor. Bang! The floor cracked. Tang Wei's mouth twitched. It seemed like the fall wasn't light. However, he seemed to know that Li Fan would follow up with another move. He quickly rolled to the side. Meanwhile, Li Fan happened to stomp on the floor, creating a depression. Damn it! Tang Wei's heart sank. He shouldn't have underestimated Li Fan. He still had some ability. You've angered young master. Young master is going to get serious now. As he said that, Tang Wei used the 8 trigram steps and attacked Li Fan continuously. His 8 trigrams palm was very powerful. Every time he attacked, there would be an explosive sound. This was the sound of his palm wind tearing through the air. However, Li Fan didn't care. He just stood there with one hand behind his back and the other in a crane's hand posture, slapping away Tang Wei's attacks time and time again. Impossible. Tang Wei's attacks were blocked every time. This made him feel despair. His attack should have been flawless. How could it not have any effect on someone who was weaker than him? Tang Wei was obviously unhappy. This guy must have studied some of the 8 trigrams palm's moves. That's why he was able to counter his attacks time and time again. Since that's the case, I'll let him know how terrifying the 8 trigrams palm is. Chapter 376. Tang Wei was very confident in his martial arts, but at the same time, he looked down on Li Fan. He thought that Li Fan was weak, extremely weak. This kind of person came to this arena just to get some benefits. If he didn't cripple him, he wouldn't be Tang Wei. He was the young master of the Tang family, the successor of the 8 trigram school. Was there anyone more familiar with the 8 trigram school than him? No. Tang Wei's footwork became even more strange. Suddenly, both his palms stabbed at Li Fan. This time, he didn't just want to cripple him, he wanted this guy's life. That was what Tang Wei was thinking, but Li Fan had already raised his leg and kicked Tang Wei in the face. White deer reverse kick. Tang Wei's 8 trigram school did not even land on Li Fan before he was kicked 7 to 8 meters away. He flipped over and grabbed onto the edge of the arena with both hands to prevent himself from falling off. Tang Wei's face turned pale. He had actually been kicked away. How was that possible? This shoe print suits you quite well. Li Fan was still standing in the arena, looking at Tang Wei without a change in expression. You're welcome. This is a gift for us getting to know each other. Tang Wei supported himself with his hands and jumped up, staring nervously at Li Fan opposite him. Yin Wuchao's expression also changed slightly. This Li Fan seemed to have exceeded his expectations. The successor of the 8 trigram school was like a child in front of him, being casually toyed with. To have such strength, not only was his internal energy strong, his martial arts were probably outstanding as well. Li Fan, you forced young master to do this. Tang Wei saw Murong standing below the stage, looking at him with a teasing look in her eyes. He couldn't stand it anymore. There was nothing more depressing than being looked down upon by the woman he liked. Tang Wei took out a small green porcelain bottle from his bosom and poured out a golden pill from it. Seeing this pill, the 2 burly men from the 8 trigram school were a little uneasy. Yin Wuchao also stood up. An emerald jade bottle and a golden purple pill. This kid actually stole the 8 trigram school's heavenly demon pill. The heavenly demon pill was not the 8 trigram school's own medicine. Instead, it was a kind of evil medicine refined by a sect called the Heavenly Demon Sect more than 10 years ago. This kind of pill could temporarily activate all the potential in one's body, doubling one's strength. However, this medicine came with a price. After taking it, although it could double one's strength, it would also reduce one's lifespan by 10 years. Back then, when the 8 trigram school's sect master annihilated this demonic sect, he kept the medicine. They probably didn't expect that someone would steal the medicine and take it out. Young master, you can't eat it. Young lord. No. The 2 of them were so scared that they almost peed their pants. If the old sect master found out about this, how were they going to explain themselves? However, Tang Wei had already made up his mind. In order to kill Li Fan, he swallowed the heavenly demon pill. Tang Wei's eyes glowed with a green light. It was very strange. At the same time, his body swelled up slightly, and veins popped out of his muscles like a horned dragon. Li Fan. You have to pay the price. Tang Wei had to make Li Fan compensate him for the side effect of shortening his lifespan by 10 years. Why do you have to do this? Li Fan looked at Tang Wei coldly. Even if you took the medicine, it's not your own strength. Because I'm the final king. Tang Wei roared again and again. His voice became deeper and deeper, like a great bell. His strength had doubled. Tang Wei previously had the strength of at least 2 dragons in his body. He was an expert who had reached the next level. But after taking the medicine, his strength had leaped to 4 dragons. 4 dragons. Tang Wei was very excited. This was already strength that had reached the peak of perfection. With such strength, why didn't Li Fan admit defeat obediently? Li Fan, kneel down. Tang Wei's body seemed to leave an afterimage as he instantly appeared in front of Li Fan. Then, with a knife hand strike that seemed to pierce through the air, he disappeared from everyone's sight just like that. Bang! Li Fan's body slightly leaned to the side, and a stone pillar behind him was shattered. No one had underestimated Tang Wei's attack. But that stone pillar had already been hit. This knife hand strike, so fast, Yin Wuchao could not help but be surprised. I have a whole new level of respect for you. It was said that once the knife hand strike of the 8 trigram school was trained to a certain level, it would be so fast that it would disappear without a trace. Although Tang Wei had taken the heavenly demon pill, had his 8 trigrams palm already reached such a level? And just now, Li Fan was actually able to dodge this palm strike. Was it luck? I have to say, your luck is really good. Tang Wei stretched his muscles and bones, making cracking sounds. My 8 trigrams palm has now transcended the mortal realm. He said proudly, and don't think that your good luck will last for too long. Because this heavenly demon pill can last for an entire hour. In this hour, I will break all the bones in your body and then break the tendons in your arms and legs. I will make you beg for death. Practicing martial arts should be done step by step. Li Fan said indifferently, your behavior is no different from being possessed by the devil. Once you lose your calm, you will be further and further away from the path of a generation's master. You scum, you dare to lecture me. Tang Wei sneered, do what you want. After all, you are going to die soon. With that, he stepped into the horse stance again, and then his right hand suddenly disappeared from everyone's sight. Bang! This time, it was the air that exploded. And Li Fan only slightly turned his body and once again dodged Tang Wei's attack. Huh! Tang Wei's brows deeply wrinkled. His 8 trigrams shadow was a secret art that could only be practiced after reaching great heights. Logically speaking, no one should be able to match it. Why did this Li Fan in front of him dodged his attack twice? Is he really that lucky? Shadowless 3 Broken Plum. Tang Wei instantly struck out 3 moves, but Li Fan only moved left and right as if he was taking a stroll. It was unknown if it was intentional or not, but he dodged all 3 attacks just like that. Yin Wuchao couldn't sit still anymore. Once or twice, it could be a coincidence. But the 3rd time was definitely not. It was unknown what method Li Fan used to easily dodge Tang Wei's shadowless 8 trigrams palm. Impossible. Tang Wei was even more shocked. What method did you use? I don't need any method. Although Li Fan had a bullet time ability, he didn't need to do that right now. You have too many useless tricks. Li Fan said, just based on my experience, I can determine the direction of your attack. Bullshit. Who do you think you are? A martial arts master? Tang Wei didn't believe Li Fan's words. What a joke. I'm going to teach you a lesson, you arrogant bastard. With that, Tang Wei stepped into a horse stance with one hand on his waist and the other aimed at Li Fan. It was like he was aiming at Li Fan's ultimate move, Ape King Cannon. Chapter 377. Li Fan felt that this move was indeed very similar to his Ape King Cannon. The 8 trigrams palm was extremely fast and could tear through the air. Tang Wei seemed to want to use the strength of this palm to tear through the air and forcefully attack Li Fan. Li Fan, on the other hand, moved. He took a few steps forward and arrived in front of the other party. There was no fear in his expression. Go to hell. Bastard. Tang Wei ruthlessly slapped Li Fan with his palm, causing the surrounding air to distort. The power brought by this powerful palm was extremely terrifying. The surrounding air had become Tang Wei's weapon, slashing at Li Fan's body. However, Li Fan did not move and met Tang Wei's palm with his own. Bang! The ground under his feet began to collapse. Li Fan had the protection of his true qi, so Tang Wei's air-tearing attack was completely ineffective against him. His palm pressure was also blocked by Li Fan. He stood there in a relaxed manner, safe and sound. Even his palms did not tremble at all. Tang Wei's eyes widened as he looked at Li Fan in front of him in shock. How was this possible? This was his strongest palm attack, but his opponent did not even lose a single hair. He must be dreaming. Now, do you understand what a martial artist is? Li Fan looked at the successor of the 8 trigram school in front of him and said, although you have some strength, you are not a qualified martial artist. As he said that, Li Fan suddenly raised his left leg and kicked Tang Wei's chin, causing him to flip over. But Li Fan's left leg chopped down again, chopping right at Tang Wei's chest, and fiercely chopped him into the ring, smashing a big hole in the ring. Your duel ends here. Li Fan retracted his leg and looked at Tang Wei, who was lying there, unable to get up. You don't have to pay 10 years of your life for this. I don't have much enmity with you, so I saved you this time. Good luck. As soon as he finished speaking, Tang Wei suddenly spat out a mouthful of black blood, and then he finally fainted. Li Fan's 2 kicks landed on 2 of his acupuncture points, kicking out the poison in his body. In such a short period of time, Tang Wei would at most lose 1.5 years of his lifespan, which didn't affect him much. Moreover, Li Fan felt that it was appropriate for a person like him to be taught a lesson. Benefactor's level is getting higher and higher. Guan Wenbao stood below the stage and looked at the high-spirited Li Fan. He couldn't help but feel a little envious. It would be great if he could reach the same level as his benefactor. However, For benefactor to be able to reach this step, he must have had many opportunities to realize it. This, the winner of this duel, is little tyrant Li Fan. Jiang Minzhe was also dumbfounded. He blinked his eyes a few times before striking the gong and drum. Yin Wuchao's heart also sank. This Li Fan is quite powerful. I seem to have underestimated his strength. The move he is currently displaying is definitely not the strength of an ordinary expert. What did he learn from Murong? But the kung fu he displayed is completely different from what Murong learned. Could it be that this Li Fan really created his own kung fu? But no matter what, this person can't become my son-in-law. It's still two people. It's either Guan Wenbao or Qin Junhua. My future son-in-law must be decided between the two of them. Everyone, remember my name. I'm Li Fan. Li Fan stretched out his hand, and Guan Wenbao threw a large flag over. There were 4 Chinese characters written on it, Extraordinary Express Delivery. Everyone was stunned. What does this mean? Everyone, please remember that I'm opening an escort agency, Extraordinary Express Delivery. My agency handles all kinds of business, and the price is discounted. Please take good care of me. Yin Wuchao's face darkened slightly. No matter how good Li Fan's temper was, it was a little too arrogant to advertise at the martial arts contest for a spouse that he had organized for his daughter. However, Li Fan did not care about this. He was not here to pick up girls. Remember my name. I'm the little overlord, Li Fan, an escort of Extraordinary Escort Agency. Also, Guan Wenbao and Yan Kai are our escorts. Please take good care of our business. Thank you. Ahem, in that case, it's time for the next group. Jiang Minzhe interrupted everyone's awkwardness. He took out the name list for the next group. This group can be said to be a match of the rich and powerful. Huashan's Qin Junhua against the 5 Tigers Sect's Kuchuanzi. It's definitely going to be an exciting battle. Let's wait and see. Everyone's interest was piqued. Kuchuanzi seemed to be unable to wait any longer. He touched his saber, did a somersault, and jumped into the arena. There seemed to be a lot of people below the arena who were his fans. Many girls even pulled out banners with Kuchuanzi's name written on them. This was not unusual. After all, Kuchuanzi was a little handsome, and he had a mischievous look. Many girls liked him. However, this situation only lasted for a short while, because Qin Junhua also went into the arena. He used his qinggong, and his whole body was light as a feather. With a huge sword on his back, he swung his black clothes and landed on the arena. The screams of the girls below the arena rose and fell incessantly. A few girls even fainted. Qin Junhua's appearance was not bad. He looked like a little fresh meat. He also had a pair of long legs. He was much better than a Korean oppa. It was very normal for a guy like him to have a fan club of girls. The female fans of the two of them started arguing. It seemed like they were all supporting each other's idols. Qin Junhua. You pretty boy. Today you must win back that half move. Kuchuanzi pulled out a black saber and pointed it at Qin Junhua. My 5-tiger breaking blade technique has been trained to the 4th tiger. Then congratulations. Qin Junhua's expression seemed very calm. There was no fluctuation in his emotions. Fuck. Can't you be surprised? It's fine to be afraid. Give me some emotion, okay? Why should I give you any emotion? Qin Junhua looked at Kuchuanzi puzzledly. I congratulate you for improving your martial arts. Am I wrong? Fuck. Kuchuanzi was very angry. Li Fan was watching the show from below. He felt that this Qin Junhua's inflexibility was comparable to Guan Wenbao. However, at least Guan Wenbao still had some emotions. This Qin Junhua was like a robot. Kuchuanzi jumped up and down on the stage like a monkey jumping on a horse. He kept provoking Qin Junhua, but Qin Junhua ignored him. The two of them were complete opposites. I really envy the two of them. Yan Kai was standing beside Li Fan. He crossed his arms and said enviously. So sweet. It's rare. Fuck. You're back. Seeing Yan Kai, Li Fan was stunned. This guy, when did he come back? Chapter 378. Is it strange that I'm back? Yan Kai had changed his clothes and tied his hair into a ponytail. He smelled of soap. I was sweating and dirty from the fight just now. I quickly went to take a shower and changed my clothes. I feel much more comfortable now. Yan Kai's narcissism made people speechless. Fuck, I thought you were so depressed that you couldn't think straight. What are you talking about? Am I such a weak person? Yan Kai chuckled, damn you, aren't you looking down on me too much? Shit, speak properly. Although I really want to teach this cute junior a lesson, it will be easy for me to be hunted down by Wu-Tang Mountain. It will be troublesome for our agency. Therefore, I made a prompt decision and decided to retreat in order to advance. A loss is a loss. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Guan Wenbao stood at the side and curled his lips. What a joke. With my divine skills, how can I lose? I'm just being humble, understand? Shameless. Fuck you. Why don't we have a fight? I don't want to fight with you. Li Fan covered his forehead. These two were the real clowns. They were much better than the pair on the stage. After all, Chen Junhua on the stage was the real silent cannon. No matter how Kuchuanza provoked him, he was unmoved. But Guan Wenbao could not be called a silent cannon. He could only be called coquettish. Although he did not speak much, he could always stir up Yan Kai's anger. Stop arguing, you two. Where's Lei Zi? Did I ask him to follow you? Li Fan searched for a long time but could not find Huang Lei. We took a shower together at the bathhouse. A lady boss in her 40s said she could do a special service. Huang Lei seemed to be interested, so he stayed. Yan Kai looked at Li Fan in confusion. What's a special service? It's a service specially made for Huang Lei. You don't have to worry about it. Li Fan was speechless. This Huang Lei was a pervert. The two people on the stage have pretty good sword and saber skills. Yan Kai finally paid attention to the battle on the stage. Kuchuanza was already fighting with Chen Junhua. Kuchuanza's saber technique was indeed not bad. Every saber move was powerful and varied. The audience was dazzled and the female fans below the stage screamed again and again. As for Huashan's Chen Junhua, this youth's sword principle was very simple. A broadsword that was as wide as a palm was wielded in his hand. Every swing of his sword seemed to have the power to split a mountain. Although it was not extravagant, it showed the demeanor of an expert. The personalities of the two men seemed to be related to their martial arts. Kuchuanza's saber strikes became faster and faster. With one swift move, he went straight for Chen Junhua. However, Chen Junhua was not anxious or impatient. With the Mount Hua heavy sword in his hand, he could attack and defend at the same time, preventing Kuchuanza from succeeding. Fuck. I don't believe it. Kuchuanza seemed a little impatient, but Chen Junhua's expression remained the same. Yin Wuchao couldn't help but admire Chen Junhua. This was the elegance and bearing of a descendant of a prestigious family. If he could take him in as a son-in-law, that would be really good. The two of them were locked in a stalemate. For a moment, it was hard to tell who was better. The fans below the stage were more anxious than anyone else. Zay Zay. You're the best. Kill the guy on the other side. Nonsense. Our Xiao Hua is the best. It's obviously Zay Zay. It's Xiao Hua. Are you blind? Is there something wrong with your taste? You actually like a jumping monkey. You're the jumping monkey. Your whole family are jumping monkeys. How dare you scold my idol? Sisters, let's fight it out with them. The fight on the stage was locked in a stalemate. The group of female fans below the stage was also in full swing. Old Guan, Yan Kai, who do you think will win? Li Fan asked as he watched the commotion. He could not help but want to participate in such an interesting event. These two people's martial arts attainments are not bad. Their strength seems to be about the same. Yan Kai stroked his chin with one hand. But in terms of mentality, the Five Tigers sect kid is at a disadvantage. I don't know how Chen Junhua's character was honed. He's actually so steady, like the peak of Mount Hua. It's admirable. Chen Junhua is too heavy, but not agile enough. Guan Wenbao's evaluation was still concise and concise. That's right. Li Fan clapped his hands. Old Guan has hit the nail on the head. Chen Junhua's swordsmanship is like his character. Although steady, many times because he is too steady, he loses the opportunity to attack. The true state of a martial artist should be as quiet as a virgin and as agile as a rabbit. A bright light flashed in Li Fan's eyes. Don't give me a chance. Once you do, I will definitely attack like a storm. It seemed that it was just as Li Fan and Guan Wenbao had said. Chen Junhua had this weakness. That was why he was constantly being shaken by Kuchuanzi and could not win. The two of them were still engaged in a fierce battle. Li Fan continued to ask. Alright, tell me who you think will win. Chen Junhua. Yan Kai closed his palms. It must be him. Chen Junhua. Guan Wenbao also said. Fuck, didn't you say that Chen Junhua is not good enough? Why did you choose with me? Yan Kai was immediately unhappy. I only said that Chen Junhua is not agile enough. I didn't say that he is not good enough. Guan Wenbao said coldly, you're thinking too much, fantasist. Fuck you. You're the fucking fantasist. Your whole family is. Yan Kai really could not do anything to Guan Wenbao. He was obviously not good with words, but he could make people vomit blood with his words. That's right. Chen Junhua will indeed win. Li Fan crossed his arms and made his own judgment. Although Kuchuanzi is quite powerful, he has exhausted too much energy. This is not good for him. Hey, hey, hey. You guys, are you done? A girl with dyed red hair raised Kuchuanzi's nameplate and shouted at Li Fan. Who do you think you are? You actually keep saying that our idol is not good enough. That's right. He only won one match. He's still far from being able to compete with our idol. You really think you are an expert? Shameless. There is a loser here. You still have the nerve to criticize others. You are too shameless. A group of female fans roared at Li Fan. Li Fan's face was filled with black lines. My goodness. I really can't ignore the power of female fans. As the saying goes, one fan is worth 10 haters. This is the logic. Ignorant women. Guan Wenbao scolded without any trace of politeness. Big breasts but no brains. Stop it, old Guan. Yan Kai fiddled with his ponytail. These women obviously don't even have breasts. Quickly apologize to them. How can you insult them? It's my fault. I'm sorry. I will pay attention next time. The two of them spoke one after another. Those female fans almost vomited blood. Chapter 379. These female fans were annoyed. Several of them surrounded Yan Kai and Guan Wenbao and started to fight crazily. But Yan Kai suddenly swung his ponytail and gently hooked a female fan's chin with one hand. You are quite cute when you are quarreling. Sometimes, good looks meant great lethality. If it was Guan Wenbao who used this move, it would not be effective. However, as soon as a handsome guy like Yan Kai used it, the girl immediately blushed and lowered her head, not saying a word. She seemed to be the leader of these female fans. When she stopped, the other female fans also gradually calmed down. Li Fan could not help but sigh that this handsome guy's fighting ability was really high. Even if he did this, he was afraid that it would only make the female fans angrier. Gigolo. Guan Wenbao curled his lips, but Yan Kai smiled proudly. Although Guan Wenbao also had good facial features, because he inherited his ancestors' genes, his face was slightly rosy, which affected his appearance. But this was also something that Guan Wenbao was proud of. After all, this was the Guan family's bloodline, the symbol of bloodline. The battle below the stage stopped, and the contest on the stage gradually came to an end. Just as Yan Kai and Guan Wenbao said, Kuchuanza gradually lost his strength and was a little breathless. His saber art was not so smooth, and his speed was obviously much slower. "I won't admit defeat like this." Kuchuanza took a deep breath, and seemed to be ready to use a big move. Li Fan and the others all concentrated, wanting to see if Kuchuanza had any unique skill to turn the tables. 1 tiger out of the cage, 2 tigers down the mountain, 3 tigers for hegemony, 4 tigers wreaking havoc. This was the unique skill of the 5 tigers breaking the gate saber art, but with Kuchuanza's current strength, he could only use the 4th move. His figure suddenly blurred, and in the blink of an eye, 4 identical Kuchuanza appeared on the left and right of Chen Junhua, holding black sabers in their hands. This was the 4 tigers wreaking havoc, and also the limit of Kuchuanza's saber art. Li Fan could clearly see that 3 of the 4 Kuchuanza were just afterimages left behind by him. But the saber chi was real, and it was in 4 directions, waiting to kill its opponent. Perhaps in Kuchuanza's eyes, this youth from Hua Mountain was his old enemy. Even Yin Wuchao could not help but clap his hands in praise of this move. Good youth, good saber art. As the successor of the 5 Tigers sect, this move was really beautiful. Li Fan looked at the stage, and could not help but put himself on the stage. If it were him, how would deal with this move? It didn't seem difficult because he had already figured out which one was Kuchuanza's real body. This move seemed to be very powerful, but it also had many flaws. His movements were too slow. Before the 4 Kuchuanza could make a move, Li Fan could instantly appear behind the real Kuchuanza and defeat him in 1 move. Chen Junhua obviously didn't have Li Fan's judgment, but he still raised his sword high, turned it upside down, and fiercely stabbed it under his feet. Chen Junhua did not have Li Fan's judgment. But he raised his sword high, turned it around, and stabbed it under his feet. Although they had fought for a long time, Chen Junhua did not consume too much vital qi. At this moment, his advantage was fully displayed. Sword qi shot out in all directions, and the 4 Kuchuanza were engulfed in it. In the blink of an eye, 3 Kuchuanza turned into afterimages. The remaining one raised his saber and blocked in front of him, but he was still sent flying. He rolled a few times on the stage and finally fell off the stage. He did not have much strength left. Hua Mountain, Chen Junhua wins. Chen Junhua's female fans below the stage cheered. Kuchuanza, who was lying below the stage, used his remaining strength to hit the ground hard. The youth was indignant. Indignant. At this moment, Li Fan walked in front of him and handed him a business card that had been printed 2 days ago. What? Kuchuanza glared at Li Fan. This guy had just won the competition. Was he here to show off? I can improve your saber technique. Look for me if you're interested. Li Fan had come up with this idea on the spur of the moment. When it came to practicing martial arts, one must learn from the strengths of many schools. Kuchuanza's saber technique had its strengths, but its weaknesses were also obvious. Li Fan had seen some clues and felt that he could help Kuchuanza improve his saber technique. Only a ghost would believe you. Get lost, get lost. Kuchuanza was in a bad mood. He did not want to talk to Li Fan. You're too arrogant. My 5 tigers breaking the gate saber technique was perfected by hundreds of years of predecessors. How could it have any weaknesses? It's just that I haven't practiced it well enough. What does it have to do with saber technique? This guy is really annoying. He tore the business card into 4 pieces and threw them into the trash can at the side. Li Fan shrugged his shoulders. Since the other party could not accept it, there was nothing he could do. The next few matches were not as exciting as they should have been. Guan Wenbao's opponent was also not outstanding. He was kicked off the stage by Guan Wenbao. Old Guan was very loyal. During the whole process of his martial arts competition, he carried the banner of Fifan Express Delivery. The 5th match ended quickly. The winner was a fair-skinned youth. This youth did not look very old. He looked like he was about 15 years old. His skin was very fair. His body was wrapped in black clothes, and he used a long whip well. He defeated many experts and reached the very end. But this person did not belong to any sect. Every time he fought, he won by a narrow margin. Therefore, he did not attract much attention. Next is the last round of the competition. Jiang Minzhe rang the gong and said loudly, "The last round is an elimination system. First, we have to choose a champion. Then, the rest of the contestants will take turns to challenge the champion." He took out a small bamboo tube. There were 5 bamboo sticks in it. Here are the 4 positions of heavenly stems. There is also a golden stick. Whoever draws the golden stick will be the champion. If the champion is defeated, the position will be changed. And the champion standing at the end will be the son-in-law of Golden Eagle Castle. He reminded everyone, "You must do your best. Because you only have one chance. If you fail, you will be eliminated." With that, he carried the bamboo tube and walked to the front of the 5 contestants. Whoever becomes the champion first would not be worth it. Because even if they win by luck, their stamina would be affected. There is no need to choose. Let me be the champion of the first round. With that, Li Fan stretched out his hand and lightly patted the bamboo tube. 5 bamboo sticks were sent flying at the same time. Li Fan reached out and grabbed the one that spat out the golden stick, while the rest were swept away by him. The remaining 4 people immediately jumped up and caught the remaining bamboo sticks in their hands. Lv Shan snatched the first one. He was prepared to challenge Li Fan first. This, Jiang Minzhe was somewhat embarrassed. Since young hero Li is so chivalrous, then this old man will do his best. Yin Wuchao cupped his hands. Congratulations to young hero Li for walking to the end. Chapter 380. Everyone was shocked that Li Fan chose to be the champion of the arena. How could this guy be so daring? Is he brave, or is he brainless? This wasn't a joke. There were so many of them, and none of them were ordinary people. Which one of them was not an expert? Even if they were young, their strength was not for show. How was it possible to fight 4 people at once? No one believed that Li Fan could fight 4 people at once, let alone in a continuous battle. There was almost no time to rest for the champion of the arena. This kind of fighting style was simply cruel. Yin Wuchao was also very surprised. He did not expect Li Fan to choose such a method. However, this was exactly what he wanted. He felt that Li Fan was very strong. He cultivated both internal and external cultivation, and his strength could even crush Tang Wei, who had eaten the heavenly demon pill. If he did not handle this well, he would become the biggest variable in today's martial arts competition. However, even if he was strong, he would not be able to withstand 4 consecutive battles. Huashan's Chen Junhua's strength was not for show. With the few of them around, Li Fan would definitely not be able to win. However, the reason why he chose to fight 4 people at once was probably to advertise his escort agency. After all, regardless of whether he could really fight 4 people at once, as long as he defeated 1 or 2 of them, his reputation would be established. Yin Wuchao felt that his judgment couldn't be wrong. If he wanted to safely take on 4 opponents by himself, then only someone at his level could do it. Under the crowd's surprised gaze, Li Fan slowly walked into the arena and patted the dust off his body. "Who's first?" Li Fan asked calmly with his hands behind his back. "It's me." Lv Shan stepped on the cloud-climbing ladder. His body leaped twice in the air before he landed steadily on the arena. The moment an expert made a move, it was obvious. The moment he displayed the cloud-climbing ladder, it attracted a lot of cheers. Lv Shan lived up to his reputation as a Wudang disciple. His cloud-climbing ladder was executed beautifully. Even Li Fan wanted to applaud him. However, the level of Qinggong was only for escaping. To determine the winner, it still depended on the fists and feet. I'm asking you. Lv Shan was not courteous to Li Fan at all. He immediately berated him. You said that the Wudang trader is living with your subordinates. Is that true? There's no need to spread rumors about such things. Li Fan scrutinized the proud and arrogant Wudang disciple in front of him. Yan Kai is now following me. Do you have any objections? Wudang traitor, everyone should stay away from him. Lv Shan wasn't polite at all. He clenched his teeth. You actually accepted him. Then I'll teach you a lesson as well. I don't know if he's a traitor or not. All I know is that Yan Kai is with me now. He's my brother. Li Fan was calm and unperturbed by Lv Shan's prestige. If you want to touch my brother, you'll have to ask my fist first. His words made Yan Kai, who was below the stage, tear up. Sigh, I didn't come for nothing. Yan Kai put a hand on Guan Wenbao's shoulder, wiped his tears and said, Li Fan made me wet. Get lost. Guan Wenbao kicked Yan Kai away. If that's the case, I'll first beat you until all your teeth fall out. Let's see if you can still say such tough words. Interesting. Li Fan crooked his finger at Lv Shan. Seeing that you're Yan Kai's junior, I'll let you use only one hand. Arrogant. Lv Shan was furious. You're indeed jackals of the same tribe as that traitor. I'll beat you until you pee in your pants. After saying that, Lv Shan's body suddenly leaped forward. His body moved like lightning. Almost in the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Li Fan. At the same time, Lv Shan's Tai Chi palm went straight for Li Fan's forehead. But Li Fan's crane claw slapped his palm away. Tai Chi martial art focuses on defense, but you like to attack. The best defense is offense. Our Tai Chi martial art can advance and retreat at will. This kind of surprise attack is not something that a traitor like Yan Kai can learn. It's also not something that an ignorant bandit like you can guess. After saying that, Lv Shan launched another Tai Chi palm straight at Li Fan's chest. But Li Fan put one hand behind his back. His body leaned to the side, and the other hand was placed in front of him, gently grabbing Lv Shan's wrist. What? Lv Shan was taken aback, but Li Fan had already pulled him behind him with his strength. At the same time, Li Fan kicked Lv Shan, tripping him. Lv Shan used both hands to support himself on the ground and rolled on the ground. His fall was not too bad. However, he was the same as Yan Kai below. His face was filled with shock. What Li Fan had just demonstrated was the Wudang Mountain's Tai Chi fist. No one knew that Li Fan had entered the ape-faced Buddha state. Since the last time he fought with Murong, Li Fan had improved his ability to learn from the ape-faced Buddha. Now, as long as Li Fan entered the ape-faced Buddha state, he could simulate some of the moves that he had seen before. Li Fan gave this move a very awesome name, Heavenly Embodiment of Nature. Although it was not like the real myth, where the body could be enlarged, it mainly imitated the spiritual qi of heaven and earth to achieve what he could not do himself. Li Fan's Tai Chi fist had stunned Lv Shan. That Wudang traitor actually taught you this move as well. This was the only explanation that Lv Shan could think of. Yan Kai was also muttering under his breath, when did Li Fan secretly learn it? Excuse me, I've only learned a little bit of it myself. Li Fan smiled, giving people a very humble feeling. Below the stage, Murong's eyes were sparkling. Her brother-in-law's bearing was really not something that these ordinary people could compare to. Nonsense. I will teach you a lesson today. Lv was very annoyed that his opponent had used his own martial arts. He turned his body, and the clothes on his body bulged, obviously caused by the circulation of true qi. Lv was very confident in his martial arts. How could a knockoff Tai Chi fist defeat his Tai Chi fist? Lv Tai Chi palm kept attacking Li Fan, but Li Fan only used one hand to constantly pull Lv attack away, dissolving it again and again. No matter how hard Lv tried, Li Fan was like a roly-poly doll, not taking any of his attacks. Not long after, Lv forehead was covered in cold sweat. Yin Wuchao also thought to himself, this Li Fan's Tai Chi fist has some skill. He has learned a lot of things, but I don't know how proficient he is. Little tyrant, don't be complacent. After exchanging 30 to 40 moves, Lv was still unable to injure Li Fan. He finally could not hold it in anymore. Since you asked for it, I will let you have a taste of the power of Long Yang Tai Chi hand. As he said that, Lv temples suddenly bulged, and his eyes emitted a bright light. Chapter 381. Lv decided to use the Dragon Sun Tai Chi hand to kill Li Fan. His heart was filled with viciousness. That viciousness was also revealed on his face. Little Overlord, today is the day you die. Lv suddenly took a step forward, causing the ground to tremble. His palm seemed to be covered with a layer of golden light as it suddenly slapped towards Li Fan's face. Dragon Sun Tai Chi hand. This palm technique broke the law of Taiji fists' yin and yang conservation. It was a palm technique of extreme yang. This palm strike had injured Yen Kai just now. It was truly powerful. However, Li Fan's expression did not change. His palm was placed on Lv wrist. He actually pressed down on Lv wrist, causing his palm to hit the ground. Bam! The ground split open. Pieces of gravel flew everywhere. Lv was obviously stunned. He did not expect that Li Fan could even break his Dragon Sun Tai Chi hand. How could he possibly break through this move of his that was filled with yang energy? Lv could not believe his eyes. Taiji fist is a combination of hardness and softness. Li Fan's voice was still indifferent as it resounded in Lv ears, you blindly pursue extreme yang. Although it is powerful, it is inferior. How dare you? How dare you talk nonsense about my Wudang divine art? You deserve to die. Lv seemed to have lost his mind and lost his mind. He stretched out his hands as if he wanted to slap Li Fan to death. But Li Fan's knee had already been raised and kicked Lv chin, directly sending Lv flying out and falling on his back on the ring. Just like what Yen Kai said, your Taiji fist is still lacking in maturity. Li Fan said, go back and train for a few years before coming back. With that, Li Fan was not polite at all. He kicked Lv body and directly kicked him out of the ring. The new head disciple of Wudang Mountain was eliminated by Li Fan just like that. Li Fan didn't even need two hands to deal with him. Lv lay on the ground, still unable to react. His expression was somewhat dull. This kid is quite powerful. The Five Tigers Sex Kuchuanza had already adjusted a little. He stood below the challenge ring and watched as Li Fan easily defeated Lv using Taiji fist. He could not help but be amazed. It's your turn next, my friend from Hua Mountain. Li Fan ignored the defeated Lv and his gaze landed on Chen Junhua. Who? Chen Junhua leaped more than 3 meters high and more than 5 meters away, landing directly in front of Li Fan. He unsheathed the Mount Hua sword from his back and pointed it at Li Fan. Chen Junhua of Mount Hua, please enlighten me. Phenomenal Express, Li Fan. As Li Fan spoke, he stretched out his hand and waved at the weapon rack next to him. His vital energy pulled a goose feather saber from the rack and it landed in Li Fan's hand. The Five Tigers Sex saber technique was quite good. Why don't I help him finish the battle between you two? Li Fan's purpose for coming here was not only to promote the escort agency but also to learn from the various experts. In his ape-faced Buddha form, his ability to learn was also very strong. However, when Li Fan removed the ape-faced Buddha form, he had to temporarily forget what he had learned. It was as if the memories were stored in another brain. It was very magical. Alright. Chen Junhua did not speak much. It was as if he was born with few words. He only raised his sword and pointed it at Li Fan, as if he wanted to split Li Fan in half. What a joke! Kuchuanza laughed mockingly. You want to imitate my 5 tigers breaking the gate saber? It's not that easy. Before he could finish speaking, his expression turned slightly sluggish. This was because Li Fan had already made his move. Chen Junhua was a martial artist who was good at defending and counterattacking. Therefore, Li Fan followed his opponent's wishes and rushed toward Chen Junhua with his goose feather saber. His body suddenly disappeared in front of everyone. Then, he split into 4 and appeared on Chen Junhua's left and right. 1 tiger out of the cage, 2 tigers coming down the mountain, 3 tigers contending for hegemony, and 4 tigers wreaking havoc. This was the unique skill that Kuchuanza had used at the last moment. It was also Kuchuanza's first time practicing the 4th saber move, so he was somewhat unfamiliar with it. However, when Li Fan used this move, it felt a little more perfect. This is impossible, Kuchuanza could not believe his eyes. Even Yin Wuchao was gripping the armrests of his chair. Humph! Chen Junhua raised the sword in his hand and prepared to use the same trick again. Although he was also surprised by Li Fan's ability to imitate, this move had no effect on him. However, the 4 Li Fan beside Chen Junhua did not wait for his sword to fall and quickly threw out their goose feather sabers. This 4 tiger saber technique was much smoother than Kuchuanza's. Even Kuchuanza himself could not use his saber so quickly under the condition of the 4 tiger sabers. Because creating these 3 afterimages also consumed a lot of true qi. At this moment, Kuchuanza's body was somewhat empty. He needed to accumulate a certain amount of true qi before he could make a move. As for this little overlord Li Fan, how did he do it? 4 astral sabers spun out and flew straight toward Chen Junhua. Chen Junhua frowned. He held the sword horizontally and slapped the true qi with his palm. Dang! Sword qi surged from the sword and rushed into his hand, cancelling out Li Fan's astral sabers. The remaining 3 Li Fan's figures disappeared, and Li Fan had already arrived in front of Chen Junhua. The 5 tiger gate breaking saber technique was all about ferocity. Li Fan held the goose feather saber, lowered his body, and fiercely slashed toward Chen Junhua. His saber technique was very fast. His saber was like a gale. Although Chen Junhua's movement seemed slow, he seemed to have already expected Li Fan's move. His sword was already waiting for him to make a move. He followed the slash and cut Li Fan's body into 2. But Li Fan's body was split apart just like that. What was cut was only an afterimage. Li Fan had already appeared behind Chen Junhua and slashed horizontally with the saber in his hand. Chen Junhua's reaction was very fast. He lowered his body and dodged Li Fan's slash. At the same time, he kicked his sword and swung it toward Li Fan. Li Fan's body was once again cut into 2, but it was still an afterimage. Cold sweat finally appeared on Chen Junhua's forehead. Li Fan stood in front of him, holding the goose feather saber, and lightly said, "Young hero Chen's sword technique is indeed profound, but it lacks a trace of spiritual qi. I'm still lacking in martial arts practice. I've embarrassed myself in front of you." Chen Junhua's answer was flawless. He took 2 steps back, readjusted his emotions, and then looked at Li Fan in front of him. "The 5 tiger gate breaking saber technique in your hands is indeed refreshing." This was the most Chen Junhua had said. He waved his Mount Hua heavy sword, bringing up a sword qi. "Let's continue." "Okay." Li Fan nodded, just in time. "The warm-up is over." Chapter 382. Li Fan had just used the 5 tigers cracking the gate blade technique, which was as fast as a shadow. Was it just a warm-up? The audience, more or less, did not believe it, thinking that Li Fan was bragging. Chen Junhua of Mount Hua had high hopes. His strength was ranked among the top 10 young heroes in Jianghu. Although he was not the chief, his strength was obvious to all. Li Fan, on the other hand, appeared out of nowhere. No one knew his strength. They only knew that he was the fiancé of the chief of the Wulin League. However, the chief of the Wulin League, Murong Ying, used the Murong sword to conquer the world. If Li Fan's swordsmanship was outstanding, everyone could comfort themselves. However, he did not use a sword. Instead, he was good at fighting and could even use other people's moves. That was why they felt strange. What was the strength of this Li Fan? Please enlighten me. Chen Junhua said, holding his Mount Hua heavy sword. The true qi in his body surged, as if he had used all his strength. His swordsmanship was good at defense. Li Fan did not hold back. Since he was defending, he would attack. Li Fan carried the goose feather saber. His body moved in the air and instantly fell toward Chen Junhua. At the same time, he waved the goose feather saber and slashed at Chen Junhua. Chen Junhua swept his heavy sword and cut Li Fan into 2. Li Fan's body appeared under Chen Junhua again, and he raised the long saber in his hand. Chen Junhua's face did not look good. He could only hurriedly lower his heavy sword, trying to block Li Fan's saber. Clang! Li Fan's saber hit the edge of Chen Junhua's sword, and golden sparks appeared. His figure slowly turned into a virtual light. Obviously, it was an afterimage. However, the saber qi was real and attacked Chen Junhua's sword. Li Fan had already appeared behind Chen Junhua, and the long saber in his hand was pressed on Chen Junhua's neck. I told you, the 5 tigers cracking the gate blade technique is quite useful after some modification. Li Fan said. Everyone was shocked. Li Fan's move was absolutely shocking. Kuchuanza had failed to defeat Chen Junhua with the 5 tigers gate-breaking saber technique. But in the hands of a layman like Li Fan, Chen Junhua was suppressed to the point where he couldn't even lift his head. Young hero Hua, you don't want to lose here, do you? Li Fan retrieved the goose feather saber, and at the same time, swung it, and the goose feather saber fell back onto the weapon rack. Bring out your full strength and fight me. I know you're holding back. Hearing this, Kuchuanza's expression turned ugly. So when Chen Junhua fought with him, he actually didn't use his full strength? This caused Kuchuanza's pride to crumble. No matter what, he was an expert of the 5 Tigers sect. He had always thought that he was on par with Chen Junhua. It turned out that Chen Junhua had been going easy on him. Infuriating. Kuchuanza felt that his self-esteem had been severely damaged. Chen Junhua looked at Li Fan a few more times, as if he was surprised that Li Fan could see through his strength. Fine. Chen Junhua stabbed his heavy sword into the challenge ring, and then slammed it on an unknown spot. Ka-cha! With a loud sound, the huge sword split in half, revealing a white, slender treasured sword. Li Fan suddenly realized that this heavy, edgeless huge sword was just the hilt of the treasured sword inside. Chen Junhua had fought so many battles, but he hadn't even unsheathed his treasured sword. Kuchuanza was also filled with grief and indignation. He hadn't expected Chen Junhua to hold back. That's more like it. Li Fan spread his hands apart and actually got into the starting position of the 8 trigrams palm. The 8 trigram saber. Li Fan actually wanted to use this hand saber to compete with Chen Junhua's Huashan sword technique. This kid, just how many martial arts does he know? Yin Wuchao couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. This Li Fan was just a teenager, and he was only 18 or 19 years old, but he was proficient in all kinds of martial arts. How was this possible? Yin Wuchao didn't understand. When Li Fan activated the ape-faced Buddha, he could comprehend the laws and daos of each martial art. After comprehending the Taoist heart, one would naturally be more proficient in martial arts than ordinary people. It's actually my 8 trigrams palm. Tang Wei was sitting below the stage. Although he was a little more clear-headed, he was also stunned when he saw Li Fan using the 8 trigrams palm. This Li Fan was too arrogant. Did he really think that he was proficient in all kinds of martial arts? This damn thing, I really hope I can teach him a good lesson. But Tang Wei was just thinking about it. When he really stepped into the arena and saw Li Fan again, his legs would turn to jelly. Come on, young hero Chen. Li Fan's face was solemn, and he didn't seem to be joking at all. Chen Junhua had also fought with Li Fan before, and he knew his strength. He had no choice but to be cautious. The female fans below the stage were shouting his name crazily, and some were even shouting that they wanted to give birth to monkeys for him. But this wasn't what Chen Junhua needed. He only wanted to practice martial arts and become the sword sage of this generation. The title of sword sage wasn't something that just anyone could obtain. Only after reaching a certain level in sword Dao could one obtain such a title. But in the current pugilistic world, there were only a few people who had the title of sword sage. They were all grandmasters of their generation, and they were either hiding in sects or hiding in the mountains. The only sword sage who had reached the pinnacle was the alliance leader of the pugilistic world, Murong Ying. Before she became the alliance leader of the pugilistic world, her nickname was the Cherry Blossom Sword Sage. In order to become the next sword sage, Chen Junhua had been working hard. Murong Ying was the same age as him. If she could become a sword sage, why couldn't he? This sword is called Heaven Ascension. Chen Junhua raised the shining sword and pointed it at Li Fan. Please enlighten me. As he said that, his body suddenly jumped up and landed in the air. Then, he stabbed down at Li Fan with the sword tip. After throwing away the heavy scabbard, Chen Junhua's sword technique became much more free and easy. Li Fan's true energy suddenly poured into his right hand. Although it was called the 8 trigram palm, this move was actually more like Li Fan's dragon-crushing hand from the snake strike technique. The true energy completely poured into Li Fan's palm and then gathered on the tip of his finger. Then, according to the method of the 8 trigram palm, he stabbed forward. Clang! The tip of Li Fan's finger collided with the tip of Chen Junhua's sword, producing a clang sound. Li Fan's hand was unscathed, and Chen Junhua's sword bent. He used the force of the sword to jump up again. Then, he spun his body and stabbed down towards Li Fan again. The sword qi brought about by the tip of the sword started to spin. The blade of the sword was sharp, as if it wanted to strangle Li Fan to death. This Chen Junhua truly treated Li Fan as a powerful opponent. At the same time, he did not look down on Li Fan's 8 trigram palm. This was because Li Fan's 8 trigram palm was the same as the orthodox 8 trigram palm. It was more powerful when it came to circling around the opponent. Li Fan frowned slightly. Looking at Chen Junhua's sword, it seemed that it was really troublesome. Chapter 383. If Chen Junhua had only used 8 trigram palm, it would have been difficult to block this thrust. Although Chen Junhua didn't say anything on the surface, he was probably very unconvinced in his heart. He was forcing Li Fan to use his original move. Alright. Li Fan became serious. Since the other party had shown his true strength, he should not hide it anymore. He suddenly roared and infused his body with true qi. Then, he slapped Chen Junhua's blade with both hands, catching the blade empty-handed. To outsiders, Li Fan looked like he did not want to live anymore. He actually received such a terrifying sword aura with his bare hands. However, Li Fan was confident. With a slap of his hands, it was as though a huge bell had been rung, causing the treasured sword to buzz. There were some bloodstains on his arms. Obviously, he was injured by Chen Junhua's sword aura. However, under the protection of his true qi, his arms were left intact. At the same time, Chen Junhua's treasured sword was also hit by Li Fan. A wave of true qi flowed along Chen Junhua's blade like a ripple. It continuously spread upwards and soon reached Chen Junhua's hands. Chen Junhua's perlicue split open, but he shook his treasured sword. At the same time, the sword aura shook Li Fan's hands away and forced Li Fan to take 2 steps back. He turned around in the air, and the edge of his sword drew a half-moon as he chased after Li Fan. No wonder he was an outstanding disciple of Huashan. Li Fan could not help but admire Chen Junhua's swordsmanship. Flexible and versatile, using offense as defense. Li Fan did not dare to delay. He used lawful embodiment of heaven and earth to imitate Murong Ying's move. Li Fan stretched out 2 fingers and flicked the edge of the sword. Clang! The sound of 2 treasured swords colliding could be heard. Chen Junhua's treasured sword was repelled. His body flipped a few times in the air before landing on the edge of the arena to stabilize his body. As for Li Fan, he also took 2 steps back. His fingers were slightly trembling and there was still true qi rippling on them. For the first time, Yin Wuchao could not sit still and stood up. Murong's swordsmanship. This was Murong Ying's swordsmanship. As a sword saint, Murong Ying could use her finger as a sword. He didn't expect that this kid had learned his fiancée's martial arts. Furthermore, his mastery of the technique wasn't bad at all. However, the only flaw was that when Li Fan used Murong's swordsmanship, it was less nimble and more domineering. Li Fan used his sword finger to force Chen Junhua back, but he was also feeling regretful in his heart. Even though the lawful embodiment of heaven and earth could not imitate Murong Ying's cherry blossom sword qi, it would be great if it could even imitate the materialization of the void. Its big sister's finger sword. Murong Ai also clapped her little hands in the audience. Brother-in-law is so awesome, he even learned this move. If that's the case, that kid from Huashan will have to admit defeat. She underestimated Chen Junhua's determination. Chen Junhua steadied his footsteps and raised his sword again. He pointed it at Li Fan, his eyes becoming more determined. Li Fan used Murong Ying's swordsmanship, which made him feel excited for the first time. This was the swordsmanship of the Martial Arts Alliance leader. It was also the swordsmanship of a sword saint. He might not be able to defeat Murong Ying, but how could he not be able to defeat her fiancé? Chen Junhua adjusted his breathing and leaped up again. With his sword in hand, he attacked Li Fan again in midair. Li Fan stretched out both his hands and used his finger's sword to block Chen Junhua's attacks again and again. No matter how hard Chen Junhua tried, he was unable to break through Li Fan's defense. Compared to his previous duel with Kuchuanza, it was as if the roles were reversed. This time, the one who was busy attacking was the youth from Huashan. Li Fan was not impatient as he blocked Chen Junhua's attacks again and again. Suddenly, an opening appeared in Chen Junhua's orderly attacks, and Li Fan caught it. He flicked 2 of his fingers and sent Chen Junhua's sword flying, leaving him wide open. Father Bear Pile Driver. Li Fan's other hand grabbed Chen Junhua's collar and forcefully pulled him down from the air, smashing him in front of him. Bang! The ground trembled and a pit appeared in the arena. Chen Junhua was lying in it. His head had hit the ground earlier and he was still feeling dizzy. Li Fan had already shown mercy. Otherwise, if he used Father Bear Pile Driver continuously, Chen Junhua would be seriously injured even if he did not die. It was just a duel, so there was no need for Li Fan to kill him. Chen Junhua regained his consciousness and wanted to get up, but Li Fan had already stretched out his leg and placed it on his chest. As long as Li Fan exerted force, Chen Junhua's heart would suffer a heavy blow. You have already lost. Li Fan reminded Chen Junhua. Chen Junhua thought for a moment and stretched out his hands. He cupped his fists at Li Fan and admitted defeat without hesitation. Chen Junhua's fans were very sad, but they also felt a little fortunate. Fortunately, Chen Junhua had lost. If he had won, wouldn't he be marrying the daughter of the Golden Eagle Castle? Yin Wuchao also seemed to be on the verge of losing. His greatest support, Chen Junhua, had lost. Of the remaining 2 people, one was unknown to him, and the other was Li Fan's brother. If he went easy on him, Li Fan's chances of winning would be very high. Alright, who's next? Li Fan asked. In fact, he had never used his full strength in every duel. He had always suppressed his strength to the same level as his opponent. Otherwise, it would be meaningless to use his inner force to suppress his opponent. Benefactor, it's me. As Guan Wenbao spoke, he took a step and soared into the air, landing in front of Li Fan. He waved the crescent blade in his hand, stirring up a gust of wind. Benefactor, I'll use all my strength to fight you. Guan Wenbao was a very rigid person. He was very serious in every battle. Li Fan had never thought of asking him to go easy. This was an exhibition match, and he could use this opportunity to show the true style of phenomenal. Yin Wuchao's brows relaxed. Since this Guan Wenbao was going to go all out, there shouldn't be a problem. His strength seemed to be pretty good. After all, he was the descendant of a prestigious family. He was righteous and wouldn't go easy on him. Remove all the weights on your body. Li Fan reminded, you weren't riding Lisa. You've already lost a trump card when you're fighting off a horse. You're right, benefactor. As Guan Wenbao spoke, he removed his wrist guards, leg guards, and waist protector. These things were thrown to the ground, cracking the floor. The audience was dumbfounded. It turned out that this young man from the Guan clan had been carrying these things in his battles all the time. These things added up to more than 100 kilograms. Did he have to be so fierce? I haven't fought with you for a long time. The last time was on Su Chen's ship. That time, Guan Wenbao was forced to fight by Lu Xinan. Both of them didn't have a good time. But this time, both of them could fight to their heart's content. Li Fan got into a fighting stance and looked at Guan Wenbao cautiously. He had never underestimated old Guan's strength. He had also suppressed his strength to the advanced level. He was on the same starting line as Guan Wenbao, so they were competing to see whose martial arts was better. Chapter 384. Benefactor. Take my saber. As Guan Wenbao spoke, he suddenly took a step forward. At the same time, the crescent moon saber in his hand slashed towards Li Fan's head. Guan Wenbao's saber technique was very heavy. If Li Fan only used his sword fingers, he wouldn't be able to block it completely. However, Li Fan didn't intend to continue using Murong's sword technique. Before Guan Wenbao's saber landed, Li Fan suddenly leaped up. His body jumped more than 5 meters in the air. At the same time, he stretched out his hand and a long sword on the weapon rack flew over and landed in his palm. Everyone stared at him. Even Yin Wuchao was a little nervous. This kid wouldn't be using what he learned on the spot again, right? Indeed, Li Fan's body was in the air when he suddenly landed. His long sword stabbed towards Guan Wenbao's head. This sword was very powerful, as though it had pierced through the air. Guan Wenbao immediately raised his crescent moon saber and swept it violently, trying to block Li Fan's blade. However, Li Fan's blade pressed against Guan Wenbao's saber. His body bounced up lightly and stabbed down again. Guan Wenbao swung his crescent moon saber. Relying on his great strength and wide blade, he repelled Li Fan again. However, Li Fan did not panic. He pressed down on the blade and bounced into the air again. This time, when Li Fan landed, the long sword trembled and turned into 5 sword shadows that stabbed towards Guan Wenbao together. Learning, deepening. This was the strength of the lawful embodiment of heaven and earth. Li Fan's one sword turned into 5 swords. Guan Wenbao couldn't block it with his saber. However, he fell to the ground like an iron plank bridge. At the same time, he stomped on the ground and slid back 3 to 4 meters, dodging Li Fan's long sword. Bang, bang, bang. 5 sword marks were left on the ground, all left by Li Fan. Li Fan's sword technique was shocking. Chen Junhua had never used this move in front of outsiders. Li Fan must have just learned it. How could there be such a genius? He could learn someone else's moves after just seeing it, and he could even draw inferences about other things. This was a little too perverted. Chen Junhua was the same. He even forgot to blink as he looked at Li Fan in shock. He had improved his swordplay. Li Fan propped his sword on the ground and caught up to Guan Wenbao. At the same time, he kept swinging his sword, but Guan Wenbao, who was retreating and fighting at the same time, blocked them with his crescent blade. Needless to say, Guan Wenbao's arm strength was really amazing. Such a heavy crescent blade was like nothing in his hands. The speed at which Guan Wenbao swung his crescent blade was actually faster and more relaxed than Li Fan. Mad Dragon goes to sea. This descendant of the Guan family suddenly stopped in his tracks and stood up. Then, he swung his crescent blade at Li Fan, stirring up a scarlet flame. This was Guan Wenbao's ultimate move. He could use it effortlessly. Li Fan's body flipped in the air, the sword in his hand constantly flicking against Guan Wenbao's crescent blade, using it to dodge Guan Wenbao's ultimate move. He was more agile in the air than Chen Junhua. After Li Fan dodged Guan Wenbao's move, his body suddenly spun, bringing along sword qi, and fell towards Guan Wenbao. This was also the ultimate move that Chen Junhua had used before, and it was powerful. Now that Li Fan used it, it was like a tornado descending from the sky. Even Guan Wenbao was a little moved. However, old Guan had been through hundreds of battles and had always paid attention to his training. Facing Li Fan, who was descending from the sky, he swung his saber and used a move that could split Mount Hua. Genesis Splitter. The saber blade carried a huge force, as if it could split the world in half. The sword qi on Li Fan's body was directly cut into two by Guan Wenbao's saber. At the same time, the saber slashed at Li Fan's body, forcing Li Fan to put away his sword and block in front of him. Bam! Li Fan's body was sent flying by Guan Wenbao's slash. He flew to the edge of the arena and dropped to the ground, his feet leaving two footprints on the ground. The sword in his hand was broken into two with a clang. Guan Wenbao's saber energy had shattered Li Fan's sword. Amazing! Li Fan could not help but praise, "Old Guan, your Yenhua saber is getting more and more powerful. After all, if I don't work hard, I will be left further and further behind by my benefactor." Guan Wenbao explained, "Please show me your true strength and fight with me, benefactor. I will fight you with my 7 gallant fists." Li Fan could not use his true strength. After all, if he used all his strength, the battle would end quickly. "Thank you, benefactor." Guan Wenbao was finally happy. To him, Li Fan's 7 gallant fists was the true strength. "Old Guan, pay attention." As Li Fan spoke, he stretched out his hands and placed them in front of him. At the same time, he raised his right leg, which had a faint electric glow. Lightning Deer. This was the stance Li Fan had prepared for Guan Wenbao. At this moment, he exuded a sage-like aura. The corners of Li Fan's clothes fluttered in the wind. He stood there like a golden rooster, motionless like a statue. However, it was this Li Fan that gave Guan Wenbao a great deal of pressure. Guan Wenbao took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. The sound of his heartbeat was especially loud. It was like the tolling of a bell, constantly ringing in Guan Wenbao's ears. He and Li Fan stood there for 10 minutes. The two of them did nothing but stared at each other in silence. The surrounding people were getting a little impatient. However, they all understood that this was a crucial moment. Whoever made the first move would reveal a flaw. As for Guan Wenbao, he finally couldn't hold it in any longer. He raised his huge crescent blade and pounced at Li Fan. The blade slashed ruthlessly at Li Fan's head, bringing with it an intense saber aura. If it struck Li Fan would probably be cut into two. However, Li Fan suddenly stretched out his hands and blocked the crescent blade's shaft. At the same time, he kicked backward. Rushing Thunder Kick. Li Fan's kick landed on Guan Wenbao's shoulder. Guan Wenbao was kicked backward, and his shoulder exploded with a burst of electric glow. He felt his body go a little numb. Clearly, Li Fan's attack had paralyzed him. Although Li Fan's electric glow wasn't as strong as true voltage, it could paralyze others and play a certain controlling role. However, Guan Wenbao's body was strong, so he quickly recovered. He waved his crescent blade again, bringing with it a strong airflow. It swept across Li Fan's body in an attempt to make Li Fan lose his balance. However, Li Fan was still in a golden rooster's stance. His body was as motionless as a mountain, as if the airflow couldn't affect Li Fan at all. "Benefactor, I'm going all out." As Guan Wenbao spoke, his body erupted with intense true qi. Every step he took left a deep footprint on the ground. True Genesis Splitter. Guan Wenbao raised his crescent blade. The blade's body was covered in red flames. Chapter 385. The flames on the blade burned and twisted, and even the surrounding scenery was twisted along with it. The temperature of the flames seemed to have reached a certain level. Guan Wenbao also took out his full strength. His innate qi and the saber aura fused into one, and the intense friction between the saber and the air released the scarlet flames. The surrounding people were a little surprised, and Yin Wuchao also muttered in his heart. The descendant of the Guan family was really powerful. A martial artist could create flames with just a blade. How long did he train to reach such a proficient level? The flames twisted the air, and at that moment, a huge phantom of a god of war seemed to appear behind Guan Wenbao. Li Fan thought that he saw an illusion because of the steam. However, that immense pressure was real. Li Fan tore off his coat and roared. His body suddenly swelled, and in the blink of an eye, he grew into a 2-meter-tall giant. The muscles on his body also bulged. Abnormal bone transformation. Yin Wuchao stood up again and clenched his fists. This is too unfair. As the martial arts alliance master, Muronging already had the talent to turn illusions into reality. And her fiancé actually knew a powerful technique like the aberration bone-changing technique. No wonder Muronging would like this kid. This abnormal bone transformation was the extreme physical body that a martial artist of combat pursued. Bear. Mount. Army. And Li Fan no longer cared about Yin Wuchao's surprise. At this critical moment, he did not retreat, but instead advanced. Clang. Guan Wenbao's blade knocked on Li Fan's shoulder, but he used his palm to stabilize it. And the blazing flames instantly spread to Li Fan, burning his body. Li Fan's true qi instantly covered his body, blocking the air and isolating the flames. But he also maintained a state of suffocation, but it only needed a little time. Li Fan tilted his body and carried the crescent blade on his shoulders. Then, he suddenly lifted it up. Guan Wenbao's body was lifted up by Li Fan and sent into the air. "Old Guan, I'm sorry. You don't have a warhorse. You're still lacking." As Li Fan spoke, he turned his body and directly threw Guan Wenbao out. Guan Wenbao was in the air, trying to stab his crescent blade into the ground to stabilize his body. However, Li Fan took a step forward and quickly deactivated the Bear Rider state. He roared, and a huge wave of qi engulfed Guan Wenbao. Fierce tiger roaring in the forest. Li Fan's roar sent Guan Wenbao flying. He flipped a few times in the air and finally landed on the ground below the arena. Without a doubt, he had been thrown off the stage and lost. Guan Wenbao put down his crescent blade and cupped his hands towards Li Fan. "Benefactor's martial arts are superior. I wholeheartedly accept my loss. It seems that there is only one person left." Li Fan looked at the last person wearing a hood. In the battle between the 5 of them, 3 young talents have already been eliminated. This time, without waiting for his disciple to speak, Yin Wuchao actually stood up and said loudly, "As long as young hero Li Fan can defeat the last person, you can become the arena master and accept the final test." Li Fan can't help but sneer in his heart. The final test is really interesting. There was no mention of a final test in the previous competition. It seems that Yin Wuchao does not want me to become the arena master. However, I will definitely become the arena master today. Next, let us invite the last contestant, young hero Lu Zhu. Compared to Li Fan, Lu Zhu is even less famous. In the pugilistic world, no one has ever heard of such a person. But he actually won and entered the finals, standing in front of Li Fan. This young hero Lu is still wearing a black robe with a hood on his head. But the appearance that is revealed is quite decent. However, the beard above his lips is a bit thick. Li Fan feels that this person has a bunch of hair growing on his chin. Probably because he secretes too much male hormones. He is so young, yet he has such a big beard. He is too mature. You are quite powerful. Although the beard is big, the other party's voice is indeed somewhat immature. He stretches out a hand and points at Li Fan's face, but you are not this young master's opponent. May I know which sect sire is from? Li Fan is somewhat curious about the other party's identity. Why do you care? Meddlesome. Lu Zhu coldly snorts, this young master can choose whichever sect I want. Could it be that people who are not from a sect cannot participate in this groom search competition? Also, where is that Yin family's young lady? Quickly bring her out for this young master to see. He changes from his previous silence to an exaggerated look. He even looks at the house behind Yin Wuchao. It seems that before the arena master is decided, Miss Yin has been staying there waiting for the final result. My apologies, before the arena master is chosen, our family's young lady will not come out for the time being. Yin Wuchao slowly says, this young hero Lu, whether or not you can marry our family's young lady will depend on your ability. Ha ha ha, rest assured, this Miss Yin will definitely belong to this young master. Lu Zhu laughs as if he is very confident. It seems like sire really likes Miss Yin. Li Fan looks at Lu Zhu in front of him, have you seen Miss Yin before? Who cares what she looks like, she should not be too bad. Lu Zhu waves his hand and takes out a whip from his sleeve, since she is going to be my wife, I'll teach her a lesson. Yin Wuchao is not angry. Instead, he smiles and says, then young hero Lu will have to work hard. Then this young master is going to start. Lu Zhu says as he suddenly lashes out his whip towards Li Fan's cheek. This guy is really vicious, wanting to disfigure me. Li Fan stretches out his hand and grabs the whip. Friend, why are you so ruthless? Friendship comes first, competition comes second. In this kind of place, what friendship is there to talk about? Lu Zhu snorts as his hand trembles. A powerful qi erupts from the whip as if it exploded, bouncing off Li Fan's hand and forcing him to take 2 steps back. Li Fan is a little surprised. This person's qi has a very strong explosive nature, like a real bomb. Sire's qi attribute is really strange. Li Fan can't help but exclaim. What will surprise you is yet to come. This time, the arena master is this young master. With that, the whip in Lu Zhu's hand is like a snake, circling around Li Fan as if he is waiting for an opportunity to bite him. Good whip technique. Li Fan praises. After all, this whip has made him really vigilant. This Lu Zhu wasn't simple either. Chapter 386. No one knew the origin of this Lu Zhu, but his kung fu was real. This whip was like a real venomous snake, waiting for an opportunity to strike. Li Fan was not in a hurry to make a move. While he was defending, he was observing the opponent's attack. As the saying goes, know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated. Before understanding the opponent's kung fu, Li Fan could not rashly make a move. In the previous fights, he had also observed this Lu Zhu. Most of the time he defeated his opponent with a whip. Every time he showed his strength, it was just slightly higher than the others, so it did not attract much attention. Looking at his skillful whip technique, Li Fan could not help but sigh. Sure enough, Jianghu is big, there are experts everywhere. There is always someone better, the ancients did not deceive me. Li Fan was thinking, at the same time, he was paying attention to Lu Zhu's every move. What surprised Li Fan the most was Lu Zhu's explosive true qi. He did not know how he used his true qi, but it was like gunpowder. Making true qi explode, this was a very new topic. Every time Lu Zhu's whip made an explosive sound in the air, there would be people in the audience exclaiming. But even so, Lu Zhu still could not hit Li Fan. Li Fan seemed to have eyes on the back of his head. No matter where Lu Zhu's whip came from, he was able to dodge it in the first moment. And when Li Fan found a gap in Lu Zhu's defense, he suddenly turned into a shadow and instantly appeared in front of Lu Zhu. This time, Li Fan's palm was aimed at Lu Zhu's shoulder. After observing for a long time, he felt that Lu Zhu's strength seemed to be at this level. It was not outstanding. But at this time, Lu Zhu's 3 fingers were like eagle claws, grabbing toward Li Fan's throat. Li Fan was shocked. This was not an ordinary kung fu. That claw was like a ghost suddenly grabbing out of nowhere. It was impossible to guard against. This was definitely a move that Lu Zhu had planned from the start. What a ruthless attack! It did not look like a move that a disciple of an upright sect would use. The 8 trigrams palm was vicious enough, but this move was 100 times more vicious. This claw was aimed at Li Fan's throat. It looked like it was about to tear Li Fan's throat apart. However, Li Fan opened his mouth and bit the other party's hand. Ah! Lu Zhu cried out in alarm. The true qi in her hand burst forth. She struggled free from Li Fan's mouth, and then glared at Li Fan. You are so disgusting. You want to crush my throat, but you won't let me bite you? Li Fan coldly snorted. At such a young age, why do you have to be so ruthless? TSK, isn't it just a human life? If it's gone, then it's gone. What's the big deal? Lu Zhu's reply made Li Fan jump in fright. Does this man not have any humanity? Which sect did he come from? What kind of education did he receive? However, to be able to escape from this young master's nether claw, consider yourself lucky. Netherworld claw. That's appropriate. However, this was the first time he heard of this kung fu. Li Fan could not help but be serious. Whip technique as a supplement. It seems like this netherworld claw is your real kung fu. Li Fan saw through Lu Zhu's actual strength. Humph, this young master still knows a lot of kung fu. Not less than you. Lu Zhu said and suddenly kicked 3 times toward Li Fan. Li Fan used crane hand to push away the other's feet, and finally grabbed the other's ankle. Bastard! Let go of this young master's foot, 72 Tan Tui. Li Fan looked at Lu Zhu in surprise. You actually know this kung fu? Quickly get lost. Lu Zhu scolded, then backhanded Li Fan with a Ba Gua Zhang, stabbing at his armpit. Li Fan pushed Lu Zhu away. He was even more surprised. This Lu Zhu actually learned a bunch of kung fu. Although he knew a little about Tan Tui and 8 trigrams palm, he was not proficient in them. Although I dabbled in a lot of kung fu, it's a pity that it's all superficial. Li Fan commented truthfully, angering Lu Zhu to the point of choking. Bullshit. This young master dabbles in hundreds of kung fu. My kung fu is very powerful. Don't think that just because you're proficient in other kung fu, you can look down on others. Without waiting for Li Fan to react, Lu Zhu threw out 2 darts. The darts spun and went straight for Li Fan's eyes. If it hit Li Fan's eyes, Li Fan would not be able to keep his eyes. What surprised Li Fan the most was not the power of the darts, but the hidden weapon technique. It's obviously Tang sect kung fu. Good fellow, he really dabbled in hundreds of kung fu. But his technique was a bit bad. Li Fan didn't even use the great sage star picking art. He simply grabbed the 2 darts in his hand. You need to learn more. You can't just learn a bit and then throw it to the side. Li Fan could not help but want to scold him. Practicing kung fu must be refined. Otherwise, what's the point of learning? How old are you, and you're already lecturing me? Lu Zhu was not happy. He threw out 2 darts. Li Fan was about to catch them, but the two darts suddenly exploded, splitting into dozens of small flying needles. Densely packed, they enveloped Li Fan. Li Fan did not hesitate. He had already put on his jacket. Seeing the rain of needles, he directly swung his sleeve and put the rain of needles into his sleeve. This move was also created by Li Fan after he fought with Yan Xiao, the disciple of the Tang sect. Tang sect's hidden weapon Kung Fu was indeed annoying. Although he could block Yan Xiao's attack, Li Fan believed that one day, he would meet a hidden weapon expert that he could not block. At that time, he would need to use another method to defend. And this move, he called it Iron Sleeve, specially used to deal with hidden weapons. The purpose of practicing Kung Fu was to continuously improve. If he did not improve, he would be eliminated by other martial artists. Not to mention others, Guan Wenbao was chasing after him very closely. If Yushi hadn't instilled more true qi into him last time, he might have really lost to him. Seeing Li Fan easily put away his rain of needles, Lu Zhu was somewhat shocked. What kind of Kung Fu is this? Of course it's the Kung Fu I used to beat you. Li Fan had already lost his patience. Although this guy knew a lot of things, he was really not good at anything. Li Fan swung his sleeve. This sleeve slapped Lu Zhu's body, directly throwing him more than 5 meters away. The other side's body flipped, and very reluctantly landed, stabilizing his feet. What kind of Kung Fu is this? Teach me. Lu Zhu seemed to be very interested in this iron sleeve. This won't do. Li Fan refused Lu Zhu's request. This is my self-created Kung Fu, how can I casually teach it to others? If you want to learn, wait until I open a dojo in the future, then worship under my tutelage. In your dreams. Lu Zhu coldly snorted, I'll give you one last chance. If you don't teach this young master, you're dead. Chapter 387. Lu Zhu's barbaric look makes Li Fan want to laugh. I don't owe you anything. Besides, how are you going to kill me? Why don't you kill me for me to see? Li Fan's words are very harsh to Lu Zhu's ears. Good, good, good. You are forcing this young master to do this. Little stutterer, if you have any ability, just use it. Li Fan hooked his finger at him. Lu Zhu's hand suddenly reached under his clothes and pulled out a golden dragon head-shaped object from under his clothes. This object is like a handgun that is held in Lu Zhu's hand. Li Fan lightly frowns. He has a vague feeling that something is wrong. Dragon head gun. Yin Wuchao can no longer sit still and directly stands up. Why is this thing in Lu Zhu's hand? Some of the martial artists below are also somewhat surprised. At the same time, a greedy look flashes in their eyes. What is a dragon head gun? This is a weapon in the martial arts world. It is a protective treasure created by a genius of Tang sect. It is said that this thing is known as Tang sect's submachine gun. Its power is astonishing. At this moment, Lu Zhu is holding the dragon head gun. With a pull of his left hand, the dragon mouth immediately opens, revealing 10 black bullet holes. They are aimed at Li Fan. Go to hell. Lu Zhu presses a mechanism. The 10 bullet holes turn together and 10 flying needles shoot out. These flying needles fly in front of Li Fan. Each of them split into 10, a total of 100 flying needles. These flying needles cover Li Fan's face. This is not the end. Lu Zhu presses the mechanism again and again. More flying needles shoot out. Every time there are more than 100 flying needles. They are even more terrifying than bullets. Such a dense rain of needles can only be shot by a hidden weapon expert who has reached great heights. But Li Fan does not care. He just stands there and continuously swings his sleeves to keep the rain of needles into his sleeves. Actually, the principle is very simple. Li Fan infuses his true qi into his sleeves, making his sleeves like iron. This is only half of it. As for the other half, he used his true chi to form a small black hole at the cuff of his sleeve. Everything around him would be sucked in. This was a skill that Li Fan could only perform when he maintained the state of toad strike. However, his performance was not obvious, lest it was too shocking. After all, the sky-swallowing toad was Li Fan's trump card. He wouldn't use it unless he had no other choice. Once he used it, he had to kill his opponent. Lu Zhu kept releasing flying needles, but to no avail. Li Fan kept all of them in his sleeves. Damn it! Lu Zhu was infuriated. Just what was the other party doing with his sleeves? He was actually able to collect all the flying needles. In the martial arts world, there had never been such a kung fu. This was the Dragon Head Blaster. The Protector had said that no matter who the opponent was, as long as they took out this thing and launched a sudden attack, they would definitely be killed. Each of the flying needles was dipped in poison. Even if the needles were not fatal, the poison would be fatal. However, none of the poisonous needles could hit Li Fan. What was the use of this? With such a dense number of poisonous needles, how could anyone defend against it so easily? Very quickly, the Dragonhead Blaster in Lu Zhu's hands shot out all the flying needles. This time, it was a little awkward. Lu Zhu pulled the trigger a few more times. Not a single flying needle could be shot out. Damn it, Lu Zhu attacked for a long time without success. He looked like he wanted to give up, but he was very unwilling. You must teach this kung fu to this young master. I already said it's impossible, little stutterer. Don't call this young master a little stutterer. Lu Zhu was about to go crazy. You're dead. I'm telling you, you're really dead. Sorry, I don't have time to play anymore. It's time to eliminate you. Li Fan saw that it was getting late. If he continued to dawdle, it would not be beneficial to his plan. As Li Fan spoke, he stretched out his hand and snapped his fingers. Lu Zhu's vision blurred. Li Fan's figure disappeared just like that. Not only did he disappear from his sight, Li Fan even disappeared from everyone's sight. Even Yin Wuchao himself was a little surprised. How did Li Fan suddenly disappear? What kind of demonic technique did he use that even I couldn't keep up with him? This kid is a little powerful. Lu Zhu was even more unable to find Li Fan. At this time, Li Fan had already appeared behind him without anyone noticing. A hand knife landed on the back of his neck. Pa! Lu Zhu did not hesitate and fainted in an instant. This way, Li Fan eliminated everyone, leaving only him. Fort Master Yin, I'm sorry. I'm untalented and have become the final champion. Li Fan cupped his hands and said to Yin Wuchao. The people below the stage sighed. No one expected that the person who became the final champion would be him. Little Overlord Li Fan, this name, really lived up to its name. However, he already had a fiancée, and she was the Martial Arts Alliance Master. How could he play? Polygamy? Would Muronging agree to it? Would Murong Villa's people agree to it? Ha, not bad. Heroes indeed come from the youth. Yin Wuchao looked very calm. Next up is the final test. As long as you can receive 3 moves from this old man, you can become the son-in-law of the Golden Eagle Castle. Fort Master Yin, you are an expert who has been famous for many years. It's not good to bully a junior like me, right? Li Fan also changed his previous martial arts fanatic appearance and started to act weak. Although my daughter is untalented, she is still this old man's flesh and blood. Yin Wuchao said with a chuckle, if she wants to get married, then let this old man test her. Otherwise, this old man will not feel at ease marrying her off. No one could refute his words. Li Fan nodded, of course you can. But according to the rules, at least let this son-in-law meet Miss Yin first. Since Li Fan started to call himself son-in-law, Yin Wuchao clapped his hands, of course. Men, invite Miss Yin out. 2 maids from the Golden Eagle Castle opened the door at the back and invited the young miss of the Yin clan out. It was as if they were going to hold a wedding on the spot. This Miss Een was already wearing a phoenix coronet and a red veil on her head. He couldn't tell if this Miss Een was beautiful or ugly, but now that his target has appeared, the rest was easy. Li Fan looked around and saw that the Golden Eagle Castle's guards were standing around the stage. Every guard looked fierce and had a saber on their waist and a row of red tasseled darts on their bodies. Fort Master Een, this place is too far and I can't see clearly. Can you let me take a closer look at Miss Een? Li Fan was looking for an opportunity to get close to Miss Een. Only when he was by her side could he take her away. He had already informed Guan Wenbao and Yen Kai. Today, he would probably cause a huge ruckus in the Golden Eagle Castle. There was a sea of people here and there were martial arts experts everywhere. If he succeeded in his task, Yin Wuchao would probably lose all his face and would hate him to death in the future. Chapter 388. No matter what, the mission takes precedence. Since he had already promised Miss Een, he had to get this done. Young hero Li, you're too impatient. Yin Wuchao smiled, my daughter is here and can't run away. Why are you so impatient? After seeing Miss, I have the motivation to fight Castle Master Een. Li Fan continued to fight for the opportunity. Fine. Yin Wuchao finally nodded, since that's the case, then come forward. He didn't pay much attention to it. Yin Wuchao felt that even if Li Fan was powerful, Li Fan was just a monkey in the palm of Buddha. No matter how powerful Li Fan was, could he escape from his palm? Thank you, Castle Master Een. Li Fan was overjoyed when he heard that. He took large strides and walked to Miss Yin's side. When he got closer, Li Fan smelled the fragrance of Miss Yin's cosmetics. It seemed that Miss Een had dressed herself up for today's scene. Although you can come and take a look, you can't lift the veil. Yin Wuchao reminded Li Fan, you can only lift it after you enter the bridal chamber. Castle Master Een, if I take 3 moves from you, will you really agree to me marrying Miss Een? Li Fan suddenly asked. What's wrong with that? It doesn't matter if an outstanding man has 3 or 4 wives. Yin Wuchao's words were beautiful, as long as your Murong family agrees, why can't this old man? However, my family is considered to be married first. No matter what, I can't be a concubine, right? Li Fan was slightly embarrassed. Yin Wuchao was making things difficult for him. Let Murong Ying be a concubine. Wouldn't she kill him? Even if she agreed, that old dog Murong Bo wouldn't agree. Wouldn't it cause a huge ruckus? Yin Wuchao, that old thing, was indeed a smiling tiger. Although he looked like he could do anything, he was actually forcing him to a dead end. Murong Bo was an old dog, but this guy was an old fox. But it's still too early to talk about this. Young hero Li, you'll have to take 3 of my moves first. I've thought about it. I think I'll pass on these 3 moves. Li Fan suddenly waved his hand, causing Yin Wuchao to be startled. The surrounding people were also startled. What did he mean by that? What? Young hero, are you saying that you want to give up on this joust for a spouse? Yin Wuchao was delighted in his heart. In this way, he could casually decide on a candidate from the remaining 4. No. What I mean is, I won't take these 3 moves. But where is she? I'm going to take her away. As Li Fan spoke, he grabbed Miss Yin's arm. Young hero Li, what do you mean by this? Yin Wuchao frowned deeply, and his tone was a little unfriendly. This old man has been polite to you. Do you think that the Golden Eagle Castle is easy to bully? Castle Lord Yin is too polite. Li Fan laughed, the Golden Eagle Castle is full of experts, and with Castle Lord Yin holding the fort, no one would dare to provoke them. However, I, Li Fan, as the escort of Fifan Express, have already accepted Miss Yin's escort. I'm going to bail her out of the Golden Eagle Castle. So, whether it's a dragon's pool or a tiger's den, I have to make a trip. Li Fan's words shocked everyone present. What a great fief and express, they're really bold. Impudent. Yin Wuchao slapped the armrest of his chair, and the chair shattered. He stood up and stared at Li Fan in front of him. Li Fan, this old man respects you, but you've gone too far. This old man wants to see who can bring my daughter out of the Golden Eagle Castle today. As he spoke, the surrounding guards of the Golden Eagle Castle shouted in unison and placed their hands on the hilts of their swords, as if they were going to unsheath them at any time. Guan Wenbao immediately took out his crescent moon blade and waved it, bringing forth a flash of blade light. Yan Kai also took out his Taiji fist stance, and the two experts prepared to escort Li Fan. Li Fan, how dare you? Are you trying to barge into my Golden Eagle Castle? Yin Wuchao tried to be polite before resorting to force. Put down my daughter and get your two subordinates to put down their weapons, and this old man will still give face to Murong Manor and let you out. Otherwise, don't blame this old man for being merciless. Under this bright moon blade, there will be no survivors. Yin Wuchao placed his hand on his saber, but Li Fan only smiled. Thank you, Castle Lord Yin, for still giving face to my fiancé. Castle Lord Yin is a famous senior in the pugilistic world for many years, and your desert soul-breaking saber is also superb. Back then, when those bad guys in the desert heard of Castle Lord's name, they all trembled in fear. Since you know how powerful this old man is, why don't you surrender now? Yin Wuchao stroked his beard. That may be the case, but the banner of extraordinary delivery is right here. Li Fan pointed at the two banners on Guan Wenbao's back. We will definitely protect this escort. This live advertisement is very domineering. If Li Fan can really successfully bring Miss Yin out of the Golden Eagle Castle, then from now on, everyone in the pugilistic world will know the name of extraordinary delivery. There is a path to heaven, but you refuse to take it. There is no door to hell, but you still want to barge into it. Yin Wuchao said angrily, since that's the case, then you can stay here. With that, Yin Wuchao stretched out his hand and grabbed Li Fan's shoulder. But Li Fan did not panic, and allowed Yin Wuchao's hand to land on his shoulder. At the same time, a surge of qi burst out from his shoulder, and actually pushed Yin Wuchao's hand away, and even forced him to take a step back. Good kid. Yin Wuchao's eyes widened. At this moment, the qi that Li Fan has burst out is definitely at the peak of perfection. Yin Wuchao is somewhat angry. This kid, he has actually been hiding his strength all along. Stinking brat, do you think that you can forcefully take my daughter away just because you have reached the peak of perfection? Yin Wuchao felt like he was being played. He suddenly stretched out his hand and touched the hilt of his bright moon saber. Be careful. Miss Yin's warning sounded in his ear, and Li Fan did not dare to hesitate. He immediately pushed Miss Yin out of the arena, and directly landed in front of Guan Wenbao. Miss Yin, follow me, I will protect you with my life. Guan Wenbao held his crescent moon saber and fought with the surrounding guards of the Golden Eagle Castle. Yan Kai is not idle either, his Taiji fist is the best in a crowded place like this. But Yin Wuchao has already brandished his saber. No one saw his saber technique clearly, they only felt that his right hand disappeared for a moment. Only Li Fan saw it clearly. Yin Wuchao's saber technique is indeed as fast as the wind. His saber drawing technique is so fast that it seems as if it will disappear into the air. If Li Fan does not have bullet time, he might really be injured. In Li Fan's eyes, this saber is quickly chopping towards his waist, as if it wants to take his life. Without hesitation, Li Fan suddenly stretched out his hand, and with the great sage picking stars technique, he used 4 fingers to pinch Yin Wuchao's saber. Chapter 389. Dang! Yin Wuchao's eyes widened. He didn't expect his saber to be caught by Lin Fan. That's impossible. The people watching the show all sucked in a breath of cold air. What kind of background did this Li Fan have? He was actually able to catch Yin Wuchao's swift blade with his bare hands. The desert soul-breaking saber was many times faster than the 5 Tigers blade technique, but it was caught by Lin Fan's fingers. Castle Lord Yin's saber technique is indeed powerful. It's so fast that I almost couldn't react in time. Li Fan smiled, but Yin Wuchao felt that his smile was a little sarcastic. Brat, you're not bad to be able to catch my saber. As Yin Wuchao spoke, the bright moon saber suddenly exploded and shook off Li Fan's fingers. But you're still too young to block me. Yin Wuchao turned around and the saber in his hand disappeared again. This time, Yin Wuchao's saber was even sharper. Li Fan didn't dare to face it head-on. He immediately retreated 2 meters, avoiding the danger of being cut in half. Brat, where are you running to? Yin Wuchao slashed at Li Fan. Li Fan used the agile monkey steps and slid a meter to the side. The small wooden house that Miss Yin stayed in was actually split into 2 by Yin Wuchao's saber. Yin Wuchao's saber was indeed powerful to a certain extent. Even Li Fan couldn't completely block it. Moreover, Yin Wuchao had been famous for many years and his internal energy was extremely robust. He was already an expert who had reached great heights many years ago. Now, his internal energy was at least at the level of 7 or 8 dragons. It was indeed difficult for Li Fan to contend against him. But the mission was more important. If he failed this time, Fifan Express's flag would fall completely. He wasn't famous yet, so how could he submit? Li Fan snorted coldly and made up his mind. Yin Wuchao held his saber and looked at Li Fan. Brat, this is your last chance. Surrender, or die. Yin Wuchao, Fort Master Yin, I'll accompany you for a few moves today. As Li Fan spoke, his body suddenly began to swell. In the blink of an eye, he turned into a 2-meter-tall man. Whoosh! Ride! Army! 20 years later, you might also become a hero. Yin Wuchao said, it's a pity that you'll die here today. That's hard to say. As he spoke, Li Fan took a horse stance and slapped his palm towards Yin Wuchao from afar. Bear King Seal. This palm strike in the air was accompanied by a raging gale. Even Yin Wuchao didn't dare to take it head-on. Instead, he swung his saber down and split the palm wind apart. However, just as he was about to make his next move, Li Fan was already in front of him. Li Fan reached out and grabbed his shoulder. Wild bear hugs tree. Li Fan grabbed Yin Wuchao by the waist and threw him backwards. Yin Wuchao wasn't someone to be trifled with. He used his left hand to support himself on the ground and stabilized his body, blocking Li Fan's attack. At the same time, Yin Wuchao twisted his waist and swung out the bright moon saber in his right hand, trying to chop Li Fan in half. Even so, Yin Wuchao was still able to use his saber. He was simply a freak. However, Li Fan was even more astonishing. His body caught the force of Yin Wuchao pressing down on the ground and forcefully pulled himself up, dodging Yin Wuchao's saber. Bang! The tree behind him was chopped into 2, becoming Li Fan's scapegoat. Li Fan flipped in the air and changed his posture, entering the ape-face Buddha state from the bear rider state. Li Fan's body was in midair as he directly slammed his palm onto the ground. Merciful palm. This palm brought with it a powerful gust of wind, causing Yin Wuchao to kneel on the ground. Yin Wuchao stabbed his saber into the ground to prevent himself from kneeling down. Yin Wuchao was shocked in his heart. This Li Fan was so young, but he had such a powerful internal energy. Especially this palm, it actually carried a kind of Buddhist might. Open for this old man. Yin Wuchao suddenly grabbed his bright moon saber and slashed upwards. The saber energy broke through Li Fan's palm wind and swept towards his body. Although Li Fan's internal energy was powerful, it was still no match for Yin Wuchao's 40 years of cultivation. The palm wind was swept away. The power of the saber energy was also greatly weakened. Li Fan moved his body to the side and dodged the saber energy. He also landed. As he fell, he kept one hand at his waist and the other aimed at Yin Wuchao. Ape King Cannon. Although there was no point of impact in midair, the power of this move would be weakened. However, Li Fan only wanted a quick attack. Bang! Li Fan's palm suddenly slapped down. In a hurry, Yin Wuchao could only exchange a palm with Li Fan. The ground beneath his feet caved in and a pit was created by Yin Wuchao. Yin Wuchao's expression was somewhat ugly, and the surrounding people exclaimed. This was Yin Wuchao, the famous lord of the Golden Eagle Castle. How many people in the pugilistic world could compare to him? However, this Li Fan was actually able to fight on par with him. Li Fan had only roamed the pugilistic world for a few years, and he had relied on his fiancée's reputation. However, his current martial arts were not just for show. To be able to fight on par with Yin Wuchao, it could be considered as shocking. Good kid, your internal energy is deep and your fist technique is shocking. A powerful internal energy erupted from Yin Wuchao's palm and finally pushed Li Fan away. However, this is the end. This old man can't let you live. As he spoke, Yin Wuchao picked up his bright moon saber again and slashed at Li Fan a few times. The sharp saber energy danced in all directions, locking down all of Li Fan's escape routes. At this moment, Li Fan could no longer dodge the saber energy and could only take it head-on. Moreover, Yin Wuchao's saber energy was abnormally sharp. Using his body to take it head-on was probably no different from suicide. As for using his own true qi, it could be seen that Li Fan's true qi was not enough to completely resist the saber energy. Li Fan was very straightforward. His arms shook and his body flew backward. The saber energy chased after his footsteps. However, after Li Fan flew backward for a distance, he directly fell off the stage. The saber energy brushed past Li Fan's scalp and flew out from the top of his head. Yin Wuchao did not think that he would be able to deal with Li Fan with this move. He had already arrived in front of Li Fan in an instant. The bright moon saber in his hand chopped down towards Li Fan's head. The saber energy contained in it was astonishingly terrifying. Without thinking, Li Fan subconsciously entered the heaven-swallowing toad state. At the same time, he stretched out his hands and released 2 streams of true qi to stop Yin Wuchao's saber above his head. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Yin Wuchao's saber let out a buzzing sound, as if it was struggling and angry. As long as it moved down another 10 centimeters, it would be able to cut Li Fan's face. However, Li Fan's true qi was barely able to control the saber. The two of them were in a stalemate. Brat, if you want to kidnap my daughter, then we'll talk about it in your next life. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.